Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Jim Cornette Experience. Today, the garbage wrestling fans hate Gail Kim, the Mexican wrestling fans hate MJF, and I hate to tell Tony Khan what his fans are up to. It's the People in the Basement edition of the Jim Cornette Experience, and joining me for all this and more, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you. He lives in the world's only penthouse basement, the great Brian Last, everybody.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again. It could be the basement, it could be the attic. No matter where it is, we're guaranteed fun wrestling talk today.
From one end of the house to the other, am I fumpering? Am I spitting about? Am I screaming? And I don't know why. I'm trying to enunciate properly, because this is the first broadcast that we've done, ladies and gentlemen. I had major surgery just a few days ago. I had 2 teeth extracted from my mouth, as they say. And now I'm trying to make sure that it hasn't, because it's not painful now. It's not painful. It's not scalding. But I'm still, it's an odd sensation. It's throwing me off mentally, if nothing else. Brian, how do I sound? Do I still have the dulcet tones of a professional?
You sound the same as normal, I think. I haven't heard any big difference, maybe a little modulation, but that's less you, more technology.
Well, here you go about the modulation again. And besides that, when I asked you if I still had the dulcet tones of a professional, you gave an answer that was not really...
You sound as good as always.
That's more like what the answer was. That's what I thought. So at least, but now you, again, Brian, and see, I'm swallowing because I am rinsing with the medical mouth rinse, and I made the mistake and sipped the Sprite Zero, and now it tastes like cat piss. Just, have you ever just, when you have a cat just walk up and just piss your mouth, it's just horrible.
No, well, first of all, what is this medical mouth rinse? How many days you have to use that?
Well, I'm going back in I'm going back in 3 days. It's been 4 days. I'm going back in 3 days so they can check on it, because I've still got a stitch in there. You know, a stitch in the mouth saves something. And they put I haven't looked at it. It would gross me out if I looked at it. I'm shying away from it. But they put the thing in there to put the implant on later on. There's some kind of platform and a bolt in there. I don't know. It could look like the fucking Irwin Allen time tunnel in there, for all I know. I wasn't conscious. And see, that's where they get you. What was I about to talk about before you interrupted me?
Irwin Allen.
No, not Irwin. No, the point is, first of all, I haven't looked in there because I don't want it to gross me out, but it's distracting me. So hopefully I will...
In there,
sound good on the program.
You haven't just looked in a mirror to look and see what's going on?
No, I don't want to see that. I don't look at any. When I have surgery, I don't look at any of the shit. I go out of my way not to look at whatever they've cut or tweaked or fucking twisted or fucked with. Grosses me the fuck out. I'm very medical phobic. When I was a little kid, my baby teeth, the whole thing, oh, it's nothing, it's your baby teeth. The fuck, there's still fucking teeth connected to me. When I was like, I was 5 years old having dinner at the house next door with the folks that lived over there, and ate one of my front teeth with a corn on the cob. And the tooth went down with it. And they were like, ah, I'm like, oh shit, gave me nightmares. I ate my own fucking tooth. And then, like, I'm 6 years old, Uncle Tommy, I've got a loose tooth because they fall out on their own, the baby teeth, as they say. Uncle Tommy said, well, Jimmy, when I was a kid, they used to tie a string around my loose tooth and tie the other one to the doorknob and slam the door. Of course, he was a kid in the Depression. That may have had some bearing on the issue. But see, even when I was 6 years old, I'm like, no, that's not a plan at all that we're going to be fucking considering here when we discuss options. I'm thinking more than just let it fall out. My mom was like, it'll fall out in your sleep. You'll choke on it. I'll take the chances. So back to present day. What are you laughing at? I've had trauma and pain.
It sounds like it.
You were just scoffing at me earlier because you were like, "Oh, I've got some ailment or something. I've got 2 holes in my fucking head."
No, you don't.
And you're telling me about how you're so miserable.
You can't call a tooth extraction a hole in the head.
Two teeth extractions.
It's not a hole in it's a hole in your mouth. You have an issue in your mouth. They extracted the teeth.
Where is your mouth? Where's your mouth located in your body? No, now it doesn't matter. The mouth is connected to the head bone, and if I had 2 things that were formerly permanent parts of my person taken out, extracted, removed, then they left 2 fucking holes from where they were, and they were in my head.
No one calls a tooth issue something in my head. It's your mouth. It's your tooth.
God,
if your ear fell off your head, you're not going to say, I lost something from my head. You're going to say, my ear fell off.
I know. I wish the thing had been in my head, and I'd been imagining it, but it was real. And but said, no, if I would say if my ear fell off, I'd say, oh my God, my head. Because I'm thinking, what the fuck's going to fall out next? There's no ear there to stop it. What's the matter with you?
I listen. I don't know why we're arguing over this.
If you lost your whole fucking ear off side of your head, how much shit could just come right out? That's a big opening. But anyway, they put me to sleep is what they did to take the teeth out.
Did you wake up yet?
Yeah. And I was about to explain that's where they get you, see, because they charge you twice as much to put you to sleep as they do to extract the teeth. But I told him from this, I have never, since I've been a child, and these things have come out basically on their own, I've never had anybody take a tooth out of my head where I was conscious. Someone, one of us, you, me, an assistant, someone could be injured. We cannot go into this knowing that someone will have an unpleasant experience. What are the other options? They will put you to sleep. Okay. And I was sitting there looking at the little screen, and he put the little oxygen thing on, the nitrous thing. I wasn't laughing.
Let's go.
But then they do the intravenous thing. And he said, you'll feel a little prick. And I've resisted the urge to make a joke that I would normally make like on the podcast, because I want to make sure I don't piss this guy off since he's about to put me to fucking sleep in a strip mall. I've seen those headlines. But I'd asked him before, how long do you think this might? Oh, it'll take about 45 minutes. I'm like, geez. And like seconds later, there was the assistant, and there's Stacy, and they're fucking stand up. What happened? What? And there was some blood drooling and discomfort and everything the first day or so. But otherwise, I don't have a fucking clue what went on. And I want to keep it that way. While I was under I assume it couldn't be propofol, could it? Was that the way Michael Jackson was going to sleep every night?
Every night, yeah.
Fuck.
Dr. Murray.
I was a little goddamn disoriented for a day or so after I woke up. I won't be dishonest with anybody. I would hate to think that that's the way he was sleeping every night.
Hey, brother, you got any pain pills?
Who, Dr. Murray?
I'm saying, did they hook you up with anything? Because, those are bad for you. They can cause, a reliance.
They can cause you to not have pain.
Yeah, they can cause lots of things. You should just hand them over, and I'll make sure we get rid of them.
Oh, I see where you were going with that. I'm sorry. I did. Well, just hand them right over. Here, I'll reach through the microphone. No, they actually did. But see, here's the thing about that. Because I took the one the first day, and then I took one the first day, and then the next day it did not hurt bad enough that I wanted to take it, because pain pills fuck up my sleep pattern. If I was to take one, I would not sleep good the next day, I've discovered. So I didn't want to screw up my sleep, because the more that I sleep between now and the next couple of days, the quicker it'll fucking heal. That's like the waiting for Christmas principle when you're a kid. Just sleep the last week and it'll be here. Boom. But nevertheless, I'm not abusing the pain medication. I'm saving it for whatever I fall off the roof or hurt myself out in the yard and really need it.
Once again, as we said at the top, there may be some slight audio issues every now and then.
I just bumped the microphone.
Just want to let everyone know we're going to do our best to take care of it and make sure that the remainder of the show is as good as we can make it.
Was I modulating again, or are you taking points against me because I bumped the microphone?
You know, it could have been those. It could have been, you know, maybe the oral surgery really is causing some issues with your audio. We really don't know. You know what I know?
I'd like to.
No music.
All right. Well, let's start out with a happy story today, Brian, on the program.
The hole in the head story wasn't the happy story?
Well, no, see, you're making fun of me having a goddamn 2 holes in my head, vacancies.
In my head. Yeah.
But I want to start with a nice, wholesome, uplifting story about pro wrestling getting some mainstream publicity for once. About people not having to watch a wrestling program to see the upstart young wrestling company, AEW, plastered their logo and their boss and their personages, personnel, persimmons, whatever the fuck I'm trying to say, all over the fucking internet in non-wrestling media. Should we tell the people what the fuck has happened here in the jolly old United States of America? For those of you listening around the world who think that we're all crazy, here's some more evidence. I want to say this happened about 3 days ago, Brian, right? That this news came out.
Was it the day of Dynamite?
Possibly 2, 3 days, whatever the case. The news came out that a guy in Lancaster, South Carolina, I've worked there, by the way, was keeping imprisoned in his basement, 1 or more of them potentially for up to 10 years. And at first, I thought it was a rib. It was like it was fake news. I thought that somebody had taken a news headline. I saw it on Twitter first. Had taken a news headline and then superimposed a fake picture over it, right? And it was a rib until it found out it wasn't a rib. The guy was on the picture wearing an AEW wrestling jacket. And in one of the clips that is going around about this story on Law and Crime Network or whatever, apparently they've tracked this guy's Facebook page down. And he has pictures of himself at FanFest, pictures at an AEW show with Luchasaurus. And they not only had these, they had his family pictures too. And they blurred the family's faces out and they blurred anybody that's not a public figure out. So there's this guy standing there with Luchasaurus and there's a blurred out face in the middle. And one of the fans posted the unedited shot, and it's Tony Khan with his arms around both of them. Hey! And I mean, this guy, I've got the story here on the various things that they have charged him with: 4 counts of exploitation of a vulnerable adult, 4 counts of false imprisonment, 2 counts of abuse of a vulnerable adult, 2 counts of domestic violence, and financial charges. And more charges are yet to come.
Yeah, more are coming, I think. Yeah.
More to come. And when you look at this guy, he's the most Pillsbury doughboy looking fuckwit that you've ever seen. How that he would get away with this, and how could you keep multiple people in your house for extended periods of time against their will and with nobody knowing they're there? It's insane.
It's crazy. You saw the picture of the guy. He looks like a big fat wimp. You're surprised that he could keep anyone captive. And then you hear the level of sickness, just how crazy this whole thing is. Is he forcing them to watch AEW? That would make the whole thing even sicker.
Well, that may have wandered into it because apparently the financial charges, the reason why they caught him is this old woman that was in the basement died. And a death was reported, and then they started investigating him like, what the fuck is going on around here? And this has been going on over the last several weeks. But now they've learned that he was keeping their bank cards and withdrawing their money and paying his own credit card bills. He wasn't getting them food. He wasn't getting them doctors. He had their cell phones. So apparently the old couple, he was like some kind of caretaker and he just locked them up. But the other two had been in what they said romantic relationships with him, one of which went on from November 2015 to July 2025. And then the other one came along.
Just when you think you know a guy.
Well, yeah. The other one came along in September 2024, and they apparently were co-imprisoned until July 2025. But and I saw somebody commenting, well, in abusive domestic relationships, they feel scared to seek help. When there's an old couple in the fucking basement, and then some other chick comes in, don't you get a Silence of the Lambs thing? Like, let me just run. I don't care if I have clothes or a credit card. What, and how was he able to keep track of not turning his back on anybody or what the fuck was going on?
Well, it was easy to keep track of everything when he only left the house for wrestling and spent the rest of his time on message boards upstairs. He kind of But he was leaving because there was a picture of him at a fan fest with poor One Man Gang. Yeah, because he had his chain around his neck, and that's the first thing I saw. The image that they put out there was just this guy with a chain around his neck. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yes.
But it was the One Man Gang's chain. Moon,
the One Man Gang. But he's got to be out of his mind now. What a sweet guy Gang is, right? He's got to be going, what the fuck? How did I get in this? I take a picture with one fucking mark. But do you think that maybe Tony might have to gear back on his advertising tagline of "We cater to the sickos" over this?
Well, truth in advertising, right? Truth in advertising. This guy is a sicko, and this guy's all AEW. I mean, you saw the photos of him. He's wearing the jacket. He has all sorts of fucking obsessions with this stuff. You know he's a message board nerd. And I think for a lot of people who wonder what kind of people have time all day to go on these boards and obsess over this stuff, it's guys like this. So whenever an AEW fan annoys you, just think, this is the embodiment of an AEW obsessed fan right here. Jeez.
Dude, I hate to even be that hard on. You can be obsessed with AEW and still not imprison people in the basement and steal their money.
The next time someone on Twitter, let's say, goes after any of you for an anti-AEW comment, just ask, how many people are in the basement right now?
Yeah, that's the thing, is if you're going to knock people on Twitter, you have to be able to pass some type of city examination of your basement.
So it was two women, I presume, because I saw a photo that was, someone's face was blurred. Two women he was romantically involved with.
Yes.
Which, having seen the photo of this guy, is a tremendous accomplishment.
And again, romantic involvement with anything except his right hand would seem to be out of the question from the picture. And we know people aren't looking their best when they're in jail, but I'm talking about the pictures from Facebook. He wasn't a prize.
So then it was an old couple and the woman died, so there's still a guy there? Okay.
Yes. Who apparently, from one story thank you for bringing that up, one story said that the guy was developmentally disabled, but had been living independently and was apparently married to this other lady. until the family member said he disappeared a few years ago. What's it?
How's that not a bigger issue?
I'm just, we really loved having Uncle Joe come to the parties until he disappeared a few years ago. He hasn't come since.
Yeah, we still hope he'll turn up one of these days.
Yeah, maybe years. Maybe he's just on the outs with us. I mean,
he's the pastor's son answers. Too. Wasn't that one of the things? He's a pastor's son.
Oh yeah, well, it had to be. Yes, he was the preacher's son there in Lancaster, South Carolina, which I'm sure. And the neighbor, what was the neighbor's comment? I'm trying to remember. As always, the neighbor had a classic fucking, well, that's just crazy. You'd have never thought it type of comment, from the guy that lived next door to him that had people in the fucking basement. And one would assume it wasn't that big of a fucking house. Anyway, we'll keep up to date on this story.
We'll see what happens. What a nut.
I got notes here. I'm trying to, there we go. Because, it was my birthday, right? The week before I had the major surgery and ended up with holes in my head, Brian. And still some things were either slow in the mail or I was slow picking them up or just slow acknowledging same. But I want to thank a few more people. Just got a little small list right here. Dan Rhino from St. Louis. Thank you for he sent a nice book of old newspaper ads of wrestling from back in the glory days.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
And Alex from Minnesota sent me a nice book on Kelsey Grammer. But it's from the 90s, so I don't know what's happened to him for the last 30 years.
Have you said anything on the air about being a fan of Kelsey Grammer?
Now, I've mentioned Frasier, but Alex mentioned that he was watching Frasier and finding an affection for the series, especially the Nightmare Inn episode, which I must admit does bring a tickle to my taint when I watch it.
Did you like Frasier Crane on Cheers? The better show?
I never watched Cheers that much. I've seen it, but I never watched it religiously. But I watched Frasier because I liked Niles and the fucking dog.
Cheers was like all over the place when I was growing up because it was the number one show on NBC Thursday night. It established the Thursday night tradition, I think, at NBC, but it was a number one show at NBC. It was in syndication.
Yeah.
The Mets had a rain delay on Channel 9. They went to Cheers. It was all over the place. And now I feel like you never hear it talked about. It was on for 11, 12 seasons, whatever it was. You don't hear it talked about. If you ever watch it, it holds up. It is a funny show. It's a well-written show.
Why is it not on the air when Frasier is on all over God's creation?
Cheers is on one of these like Catchy TV or Antenna TV. I forget which one. It's on one of those. Yeah.
One of them. Well,
more Cheers, less Big Bang Theory. I think that would be better for society.
If they'd have stuck with Frasier, they'd be doing better now. He's all over everything. I want to say hello to Theodore Hunstiger, who sent a nice card. He's a longtime listener. He's had 25 surgeries in the last 5 years. And so he's got me beat because I've only got 2 holes in my head, but he's doing better now. Hello to him and his dog Cash. And Mark from Huntsville, Alabama, sent me a Johnsonville sausage grill. Brian, have you seen these things?
No, I do not know what that is.
It is like a Foreman grill like layout, but it comes with different plates, and you can either put the little teeny breakfast sausages, or you can put the breakfast sausage patties, or it's a round hole and it closes down exactly on it, or they've got the big holes where you can put the big old brats. And you just close the lid and it encompasses them in the slots that they are in, and it grills them to perfection. And when you just punch the button, and ding, when it cuts off, your shit's done. I have not tried it out yet because I don't have the proper foodstuffs to go in it, but that's what I'm going to display when I regain full use of my teefuses. You've never seen that? This is an amazing thing.
Now, I'm going to look into it, actually. Do you like breakfast sausage?
I love, and I'm not necessarily, I hate to already be a turncoat. I don't necessarily say I'm going to put Johnsonville breakfast sausage patties in there instead of Jimmy Dean, but it's the same fucking principle. But oh my God, the only reason I don't have it more often because it splatters everywhere and the whole house, gets the sausagey smell. But I love sausage biscuits and eggs and gravy and.
Well, we're talking sausage.
Well,
you don't have to go into everything else you like. I didn't say, hey, name everything you like at breakfast.
No, well, that's the thing. You have with the sausage, you have the biscuits and the eggs and the gravy, and potentially also bacon or maybe some goddamn fried potatoes.
How do you like them cooked?
And then you've got the whole thing.
How do you like the sausages cooked? Because I like mine
with heat.
I don't necessarily want to say burnt, but I like mine a little more toasty than I think the rest of my family does. But how do you like it?
Well, the sausage. Well, you got to have the char. Brian, I sound like Jimmy Stewart now. The char on the outside, while the inside is still juicy and only medium gray. You don't want pink sausage, but you don't want it turned into a goddamn hockey puck either. And Stewart from the UK. And condolences on your pup, Jasmine, by the way, Stuart. But he sent me a Superman animated series DVD set from the 90s. So we talked about the Fleischer episodes, you and I.
Yeah, I love those.
And he said you ought to check these out, which I'm going to. And some Nando's Peronaise, the Peri Peri mayonnaise.
What kind of mayonnaise?
The Peronaise. It's the Peri Peri seasoning that Nando's in the United Kingdom uses in combined with a mayonnaise. So it's a Peronaise. There's hot, there's mild, and there's lemon and black pepper. Nando's is the place you can get food in the United Kingdom at Nando's. If you're an American person fleeing this country from political persecution and go to the United Kingdom, just go to Nando's every day. Because it's amazing and everything else will be strange to you.
Yeah, for anyone else looking to lose weight, go to England. You won't eat for a while.
I'll tell you what, it's challenging. And when we love our fans over there. And you do have certain advantages over us that we don't have over here, but the fine dining ain't one of them. They have the blood pudding and things. Nevertheless, and finally, Frank the Collector. You know him. Oh, everybody knows him. He gets around.
Great guy.
He's got loose morals.
Terrific. Hello, Frank. I owe you a phone call at some point. Hello, Frank.
Sent me in trade for my brand new upcoming book, which we'll talk about soon. Heroes and Friends is the title of it, and we'll talk about it momentarily. But he sent me the program, Brian, the Houston wrestling program from 1967, Paul Bosch's first event when he took over as promoter from Morris Siegel, or from the late Morris Siegel, and it is autographed by Dick Beyer, the Destroyer.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
So I'm sending him an autographed copy of my book, which is in color, but not nearly as cool as that program. And I'm signing it, but I'm not the Destroyer, but at least I'm still around. So thank you, Frank. But I wanted to plug those people there.
Imagine if the Destroyer had had any kind of run anywhere in the States in the 70s. He didn't need to, and that's why he didn't. But I think because of that, so many people are just not aware of how great he was.
Boy, he was good. I saw him in the mid 80s, and when he was 50 whatever years old, he was fucking great. I think, what was it? It was a period of 5 or 6 years he lived in Japan, right, in the 70s, because he hosted a television show, the variety show that didn't have anything to do with, well, had peripherally something to do with wrestling.
Well, I believe he was the first American wrestler, first gaijin, to actually like dress and use the same locker room as the Japanese baby faces. And that was a big deal. They considered him one of their own, as opposed to, later on Terry Funk kind of got that treatment, but not too many American wrestlers did.
Yeah, he was the first one that was popular with the boys, and again spent a lot of time over there and married. I don't know what his marital status was, if that was his first wife, but he married a lady from Japan at some point in his life.
So did Fred Blassie.
Isn't he now?
So did Fred Blassie, and that was always weird thing, because she was like always dressed in full gimmick every time I saw her. You know what I mean? Like she was always. It wasn't just like
was Fred.
Well, that's true, but it wasn't just like, oh, here's a woman, dressed up for a nice night out. It was like, oh, she's like in the whole like, I don't even know what to say, but it was like a gimmick almost.
She was very old world.
Old world.
Old world. Well, that just goes to show you, Brian, what kind of wonderful fans we have out there in the cult of Cornette, the people out there. They're knowledgeable, they're intelligent, they send us all these news reports and things, they shower us with gifts, and they have a strength in numbers, Brian, because we have such a listenership. I don't know if all of the people around the world have heard the update, the follow-up to something that we just discussed on the program we did right before I went down for my surgery, but we discussed Jimmy Kimmel being taken off the air, censored, deprived of his free speech and First Amendment rights, and as soon, within hours of the point in time that you dropped that clip out amongst the minions and the multitudes across the land, Jimmy Kimmel was reinstated. So I just want to say thank you to the cult of Cornette for beating on people's doors and busting down those barriers and demanding that Jimmy Kimmel get back on the air. Thank you for accomplishing that mission. They caved in no time, Brian.
Well, I don't think it was the listeners, because if you go based on the timing of the clip, it was the same day. I don't think they would have made that much of a difference that day.
Well, it took a couple hours, but our people work fast.
Well, again, I think Bob Iger may have been looking at other things other than the cult of Cornette when it came to the decision here.
Well, it couldn't have been just the cancellations, because think about this now. The poor WWE, they don't have the reach we have here over at the WWE. They debut on the new service, wanting to bring all the subscribers into the new service on the same week as this shit gets pulled, and they lost $5 billion in cancellations for people upset about Jimmy Kimmel. So
WrestlePalooza weekend.
I don't know that the WWE was able to compensate for that attrition by any new customers they might have been able to bring, Brian. How many people would they have had to bring in new to offset $5 billion in cancellations?
Again, I don't think I thought there was already an issue with enthusiasm for this event before there was a boycott of Disney. Like that did nothing there was nothing happening to really help the enthusiasm. The people into the Cena Lesnar match and the mixed tag match, because those are really the two main things, even though the Usos and the Bronze was kind of a main focus on Raw. It didn't seem like people were saying, I know it's a high price, but I can't miss this match. I can't miss this show. So I think there were contributing factors, and then the boycott happens. And then a lot of people decide they don't want to do business with Disney, which is ESPN, which is the WWF.
Which is everything. We're gonna find out. It's fucking Howard Hughes on a goddamn island somewhere, still alive at 125.
He'd be a lot older than that right now, wouldn't he?
Well, I tell you what, I bet you he wouldn't be 2 years older than 125. Look it up while I'm saying my next statement. Meanwhile, talking about ratings, Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. And ladies and gentlemen, again, around the world who might not know the United States television scene, the people at our old friend Sinclair Broadcasting and this other little right-wing nutcase group that wants approval from the government to have another multi-billion-dollar merger with somebody else where somebody gets fucked. They still won't air Kimmel, even though the network is broadcasting it, because Sinclair's been right-wing and continues to follow that path. And Kimmel did 6 million viewers without stations in like 20-something markets or whatever, which is 3 times what he normally did with full coverage.
It's remarkable. So, that's a remarkable number because Sinclair and Nexstar, which I think is actually bigger than Sinclair. I could be wrong.
No, Sinclair has more ABC affiliates. There's like 28 of Sinclair's stations are ABC stations.
Because I was going to say, not all of Sinclair's affiliates obviously are ABC. No. They own, which is kind of crazy when you really think about it. The fact you own a whole bunch of stations and it's affiliates of various networks. That seems a bit nutty. But such a large chunk of the country couldn't access it. And then it still did a big number. And by the way, if you deny people access to it, it doesn't mean they're not going to go to YouTube. So I think the video from the monologue, I don't have the number or anything, that did a great number too, obviously.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, again, Sinclair.
I don't know about that Robert De Niro skit. I'm not, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Yeah. But yeah.
De Niro was, I think they were having a problem with the lag on the Zoom. He should have been next to him. De Niro, his timing was a little off, but he's older. But nevertheless, point being, Sinclair tries to say, oh, well, we want to make sure that the programming will uphold our community standards or if we reflect the values of our, fuck you. You know what it is? They want the fucking money like it was 15 years ago. They only owned 60 TV stations then. Now it's 200 or whatever the fuck. And they just want the money that comes from not only the various mergers or from the right-wing government that they kowtow to, not breaking them up as a monopoly. That's what's in it for them, not your community interest. If you paid them enough, they'd show goddamn Vanessa Del Rio's greatest anal hits. So, fuck their goddamn community standards. But anyway, so Kimmel, one of the good guys, wins.
You know, it's interesting, though, when you really think about it. We've talked a lot in the past, a lot of, really based around wrestling, about TV dying. The modern television business because kids don't watch it. The kids, I don't think, were watching Jimmy Kimmel. If the kids are going to see that, they're going to go to YouTube and see what he said. And it's a growing thing. With every new crop of youngsters, they're going to TikTok, they're going to YouTube, they're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat, they're on all these other things, and they're consuming their news and their content. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, it's just reality. They're consuming it that way. Television's audience is getting smaller and smaller. I'm not saying it's going to completely go away tomorrow, but it's not like they're doing a lot of things to bring people back to TV. That's one of the interesting things. Cable and, of course, broadcast, most specifically broadcast, they're not doing anything to try to entice people who aren't there to come back. So you have Sinclair.
Well, they just did.
Well, but you know what I mean? In general, it's just like, yes. they're doing the same things over and over and over again, and they're producing programming that's not must-see programming. And you talk about Sinclair and Nexstar, they own all these stations. It's going to be an interesting thing, an interesting bubble to see what the value of all those stations are in 10 years. Is it something where they're compiling and buying all these things that the value of them will be slashed in half in 10 years because the advertisers won't go there because the audience isn't there?
But no, because they will still exist as content creators, as broadcast entities. The stuff from YouTube has to be produced somehow, somewhere. Whatever the method of delivery and the streaming. The point is they're trying to control not only entertainment, but get in a point where they can control whatever people see and hear and tailor it to their particular fucking taste or whoever they're beholden to with these giant monopolies and these giant conglomerates and the late night comedians and or just the talent. Again, they're not. It's like the boys now. The boys used to be able to work their way into the office. But now all the talent, they may be making multi-millions of dollars, but they realize these nameless, talentless pricks at the top are making billions of dollars. And they're able to fucking speak out a little bit. And that's the issue, is who's going to be controlling what we are allowed to see. And that was the issue that people flamed on about, that even if you didn't want to watch Jimmy Kimmel, you wanted to be able to watch Jimmy Kimmel. And there's a difference there. And there's a difference between free speech and free lies. Because I said, now there's, they kicked Trump off Twitter years ago and they censored the right-wing point of view and whatever. Free speech is not free lies. He got kicked off of Twitter for the same reason that he's legally barred from operating a charity in the state of New York. Fraud. He was saying he won the election. He didn't win the election. Sane people knew he didn't win the election. But he made people believe it, which led to the insurrection on January 6th, which he said wasn't an insurrection and I didn't have anything to do with it anyway. Even though all sane people know from testimony, facts, fucking video and audio exactly what it was and what happened. It's the same when he was saying in all of them, where COVID's not dangerous, it'll go away, or whatever the fuck, and how many people were intubated or died because they believed the shit. Now they're on Tylenol. How many people are gonna fucking have headaches because they fucking are scared to take Tylenol because of these fucking foons?
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please do.
Before we move off politics, and hopefully some of this gets to YouTube, I think it will.
Yes.
Donald Trump, we may not be fans, but I think you can kind of understand why some people are. Don't agree with it, but this is a salesman. He's out there saying whatever he wants, whether it's true or not. You can understand why some people would go, yeah, I believe in him. Why does anyone look at Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and say this guy should be interfering in anyone's health?
Well, if
he didn't have a fake tan and if he wasn't on growth hormone, would you think this guy's the picture of health? Or would you think someone has thrown someone out into the atmosphere on Mars in total recall?
No, the fake tan makes him look like a sweet potato. It adds to the overall unhealthy picture. And that's, again, this is not free speech. It's costly lies. When you're getting people to not vaccinate their children because of your fucking lunatic ideas that you believe will appeal to your fucking disgruntled base who are disgruntled about everything. It's a land of disgruntlement. You can't just batshit crazy lie over and over for your own profit when you're in that position in the world, for your own self-aggrandizement. And that is not free speech. That's dangerous. And that's why that we are a country and it is in the middle of a shit show of violence, embarrassment, and incompetence. So blow me. Some things, some speech should not be allowed. And it's bullshit speech that shouldn't be allowed if people, because of their own mental predilections of who to blame for their grievances, think should... So we can trust the late night comedians, folks. Good Lord. Speaking, Brian, of people that have some pretty stupid opinions, have you heard about the issue with Gail Kim? Poor old Gail Kim.
I've tried my best to follow along. It seems like there were a whole lot of tweets. I think I kind of have a general idea of it. I saw some of hers. I saw some of Dave Meltzer's. I saw a rather ignorant one from Kenny Omega, which should be of no surprise. But let's talk about this.
Well, I think I was in the middle of there too, not against my will, but not meaning to bring up a branch office of the subject. What happened apparently was that somebody on Twitter sent out a video of two guys in a junkyard. And there's a bunch of wrecked cars. I don't know if they were completely flattened like they do with the flattenator machine at the junkyard, but they're stacked on top of each other. There's probably 5 or 6 of them, at least. And on the big stack of cars, these two guys are on top of it, and one of them gives the other one a Death Valley driving exploder suplex bomb off of the top of the cars through a pane of glass that is suspended, then I guess a couple of feet above a table with who knows what kind of debris on it, and they break that and stuff flies out, and then they hit the mat. You know, typical Saturday night at Garbage Wrestling. And Gail, I'm sorry, folks. I need to warn you, this language may be, what does the kids say, NSFW? The language I'm about to use that Gail said. She said, tell me you don't know anything about storytelling without telling me you don't know anything about storytelling. That was it. That was the inflammatory remark, the evisceration, verbal evisceration that she gave. It's a stupid clip of stupid people doing stupid shit in front of other stupid people that you see on the internet. Could have been somebody sticking their fucking hand in the lion's cage at the zoo, right? And she commented on it because it was vaguely and peripherally connected to the fucking line of work that she's been in for quite some time. And Brian, not only did the average Knuckle Dragon deathmatch fan respond to her, but it got stirred up by the head garbage guy himself, the owner of Garbage Championship Wrestling, actually responded to her to fire up his little minions in a frenzy. And what's his name? St. Petersburg. And he said, but I'm paraphrasing, but it's the gist of it. Well, I'll have you know that footage was being shot for a documentary by the award-winning director Zabadabada, and through the prestigious production company of Zabadabada, and will be unveiled and debuted in premiere at the glorious Glory Holes down the fucking road. I don't know what the guy's talking to. And it will we create more memorable moments than anything memorable in your career to Gail Kim. This little pea-brain nitwit who's bought his way to the wrestling business by swimming around in more sewage than RFK Jr. is critiquing Gail Kim's goddamn offhand remark about some clip she's seen of two stupid people doing stupid shit.
I'm pretending like his company is some kind of big success as opposed to the industry-wide joke that everyone we know thinks it is.
Well, there's two people and a woman. There's two kinds of people that have thoughts on his company. Anybody that's ever actually really been in professional wrestling is either offended and insulted by the existence of it, or they're wanting to separate this mark from some of his fucking money. So that's basically two schools of thought. However, that's when...
Wait, forgive me, that's the company that... Didn't it come out... Was it that they gave Sabu Kratom, or they encouraged him to get Kratom, or they knew he needed Kratom to be able to wrestle his last match?
There was, you know, the Kratom was in the air. The Kratom made a big crater. Yes, they were the company that presented that prestigious last match.
And then immediately they came out and said, oh no, Kratom's fine. You can get it anywhere. And then right after that, I saw numerous articles about people dying from this truck store opioid. Yeah. So give me a break.
Well, jelly's involved also. And, if you think of the words truck stop opioid, you would think of jelly Nutella. But anyway, when, again, this fucking guy had the nerve to just hop on Gail Kim for something on Twitter. I tweeted her, I said, Gail, it's okay to tell the truth about the death matches, the garbage wrestlers that do them, and the garbage jock sniffers like this one that promote them. You showed more talent in the ring in 15 minutes than any of these cretins in their lives. Don't watch. The smell of trash isn't subjective, because she was, after she got jumped on, but after Brett, the garbage guy, got jumped on, he was backpedaling. So she's trying to make up with him by saying, well, I would watch the documentary and give it a chance. I dislike death matches and always have. Wrestling is subjective. I also like Dutch and Jim Cornette and Al Snow, who he had mentioned, say, don't listen to those washed up, bitter, fucking people like that. The hot dog and a handshake thing. I'm sorry. It's a hamburger and handshake. But anyway, she doesn't understand, because she doesn't live her life 24 hours a day in this world anymore. It's these people are going to argue with her for the sake of arguing. So as soon as she said she liked us, then they started saying, well, don't you? He doesn't like Riho. Why do you like him? Because he doesn't like that. She said, well, I've only seen Riho once, and she's a very small girl dressed like a schoolgirl, and they were shooting camera shots up her skirt. It seemed creepy to me. Oh, goddamn.
Ding, ding,
then
ding.
they just...
Bingo. Yeah, that's what
Here we go. Now they're like, what the fuck? She gave her honest appraisal of what the normal world sees when they look at this girl. It doesn't mean that she needs to be loaded into a rocket ship and I'm talking about Riho now, loaded into a rocket ship and shot off to the moon, but she's an unconvincing, ridiculous visual as a professional wrestler and has no place on a major television program. And Gail Kim has worked for every major promotion of the last 20 plus years at a high level and looked the part, looked like an athlete. She could have been in one of those goddamn Kill Bill suits in a Tarantino movie. It would have looked fucking badass, whatever. Instead of a confused child. This is what normal people see and industry veterans see when they are in a position where they give their honest opinion, because they don't need to get booked for garbage wrestling or AEW for that matter. And, Gail is married to Robert Irvine, the celebrity chef, who's opened restaurants and conducted various culinary business around the world. If old garbage wrestling guy had a diner in Jersey over on Whitehorse Pike, do you think that he'd say, well, fuck you, Irvine, come over here and taste my shit on a shingle? You'll never have anything else. What the fuck? So then when she explained what she thought about Riho, oh, goddamn, then they started coming back on her. Oh, it's terrible. It's so horrible that you think this way and you like these people and you agree with. And she is trying to agree with, we can all have a say. It's what's so great about debates and conversations. And you, motherfucker. Because people are out of their fucking minds.
Well, people are out of their minds. And AEW fans on Twitter especially, and garbage wrestling fans on Twitter especially, tend to be unhinged and unable to accept that their worldview isn't a worldview at all. It's a fringe view of a nutbag. And they started going after Gail Kim, I saw, for Riho was so badly harassed, she had to get off Twitter. First of all, I'm calling bullshit on that. Riho was not badly harassed on Twitter. No one was showing up at Kenny Omega's house to kidnap Riho. We've seen real women in wrestling deal with harassment and stalkers. So let's stop pretending that's what Riho went through. There's a lot of people that don't like Riho the wrestler. That doesn't mean we hate whoever the fuck she is as a real human being. She's a ridiculous spectacle as a wrestler. And if you don't think like her gimmick is that she's a young girl, she comes out there and just waves to people like a moron then. She's either a young girl or her gimmick is she's a moron.
She's a moron.
And they do shoot her up skirt. It's a really awkward, weird thing because her whole gimmick is she's either a young girl or a moron. So the whole thing doesn't work. And then they try to turn it around and say all these things happened, not realizing they're doing to Gail Kim what they're claiming happened to Riho. They're harassing her. They're really being nasty to her because she doesn't like Riho. So I don't know how it works with these people, but it's sick.
Well, I know it's ridiculous to think is, well, you are taking up for the fact that she was bullied, so I'm going to bully you. But and more on, again, you know, when we talk about the teenage girl mentality, we'll get to Uncle Dave in a second. But even this guy's own audience, old Garbage Championship Wrestling fellow, when he tweeted trying to back up from just totally insulting Gail the first time around and said, well, I don't dislike Gail. She's well liked by her peers, and mentioned the old losers like me and Al Snow and Dutch Mantel. She's better than that. His own people got back with him on Twitter. You want to know what they said, Brian?
I didn't see this.
Cornette's more relevant in the industry sitting on his ass in Kentucky than you'll ever be. Your arms aren't long enough for that punch up. Here's another one. Those three men have forgotten more about professional wrestling than you'll ever know. Next one. The only memorable match GCW had was when you nearly had Sabu killed in the ring. Next one. So the truth you don't like, or at least accept opinions, can be different. Because death matches aren't wrestling, they're glorified spot fest. No real art, just shock value. They're his own people. Dude, you're a joke. They've done more than this business than you ever will.
Well, even if we look beyond your work in the business, again, I'm not going to speak for Dutch or Al Snow, and maybe this kid has an argument in terms of who's a better booker, him or Al Snow. I don't know.
Well, now, okay, to back up on that one. I don't want to give him one.
I'm not going to speak for them, but for you, past your wrestling career and your promoting career and your booking career, either one of these two podcasts is infinitely times more successful than the wrestling company he's been running for years now. So suck on that.
But I mean, it's not even, it's just the idea that he has wormed his way in and filled a niche market by buying his way into running these garbage shows around the world where people can't get too sick of them, and considers himself legitimately in professional wrestling with his freak show bullshit. And I will finish with one other comment. Shut the fuck up. Most of you hardcore deathmatch dipshits, these are the people on Twitter. Fucking hell. It's not even me. You deathmatch dipshits do nothing but worship spectacle and do cheap second-rate knockoff versions of ECW and FMW. You can love it all day long. That doesn't make it good and doesn't mean you know a goddamn thing about wrestling. Jesus Christ, so his people speak. But let's get back to Uncle Dave. Speaking of not knowing a thing about goddamn wrestling, the only takeaway that Dave had from this is, oh, they're making fun of Rio. And he is actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but he's actually calling for Gail Kim to apologize.
Well, that's one of Dave's moves. We've seen that with us in the past. The whole well, say you're sorry about this or do this. This is how it works. These are the rules. You will do this or this is the case. And that's just the twisted way Dave's mind works, I think. But it's bullshit. And Dave, of course, will go to the mat any day of the week for Kenny Omega. That's his number one guy. That guy could barely walk right now because he took Dave's advice and wrestled Dave's style. So Dave's not going to have any Riho and Kenny Omega slander.
Well, you got to the heart of it there, because it's not really Dave's taking up that much for Riho's. Dave's taking up for Kenny, because Kenny was taking up for Riho, and Kenny chimed in with, "Is he just really not that fucking quick, not witty, not acerbic, not in any way capable of having a verbal exchange? He just wanders and beats around that bush." He tweeted something to the effect of, "Well, I guess it shows who's doing the splits for their annual TKO gift basket." What the? And by the way, he implies that Gail is spreading her legs for the conglomerate known as TKO. Maybe Irvine's got some arms on him. I think Irvine could knock the fuck out of Kenny, to be honest with you. But he can't even come out and fucking make a goddamn statement like a man. He can't even come out and knock somebody, say somebody's name, make a statement that anybody can goddamn understand, but he still has to get a shot in. Kenny, you're a pussy, just from me to you. But secondly, as soon as he does that, that's when Dave comes in and makes Riho a victim. People don't know the extent of how she was bullied on Twitter. And this whole bullied on fucking Twitter? How did Twitter pick her up and slap her around? How did goddamn Twitter turn her upside down and shake her for goddamn pocket change? Bullied on Twitter. She's a grown, well, I'm sorry, I won't say grown. She's an adult woman in, what did we estimate? She's somewhere around 30, 31 years old at this point. She's well over 18. She just looks like a confused child. So again, what the fuck is Dave's deal? He can't, and he was never mentioned until chiming in and getting on her with a variety of tweets that just harping on the subject.
Again, Dave will go and fight battles for the people he really cares about, whether it's Tony Khan or Kenny Omega or Kenny Omega's Riho. And Kenny Omega shouldn't be making jokes about people doing splits, considering what goes on in that house.
Hey, now.
And Kenny Omega's got a long history. And one day, hopefully, this stuff comes out. Because I know a little bit about it, but it's not my place to tell the story. But Kenny Omega has a history in AEW, possibly you could say beyond, of causing drama and causing problems in either text messages or emails, where he says things that are much worse than anything else anyone else said. He implies that Gail Kim, a legend in quotes, is fucking WWE for a gift basket because she doesn't like garbage wrestling and isn't a fan of Riho's ridiculousness. Meanwhile, Kenny Omega, last I heard from people, he was walking around in the back drooling all over himself. So maybe Kenny Omega should shut the fuck up, because the last thing Kenny Omega wants is people finding out about his real behavior and what he really is like behind the scenes.
And since
Where's Brandy? Where's Brandy? Let's talk about Kenny Omega.
I and people like me have led to such a backlash against Riho and her compadres that it's just reprehensible, because we don't like their wrestling. We think it looks ridiculous. We think they look ridiculous. And so Dave actually tweets to Gail, listen to this. "Now that you know the backstory on why people were upset, can you at least understand? I defended you as much as possible on my show last night and explained that you probably didn't know the backstory. Now that you do, what is your opinion on the years of horrible bullying that the Japanese women wrestlers received?" What is his goddamn? He's an old woman.
And let me stop you right there. I don't think it's the Japanese women wrestlers. I think it's specifically he's talking about Riho and Hikaru
Kenny's
Shida.
Japanese women wrestlers.
It's Shida and Riho he's talking about, because that's what Kenny Omega tells him.
The root lies that, again, among the many people that took advantage of Tony Khan several years ago when this whole festive thing got started, was Kenny literally believed that these semi-pro, small indie girl wrestlers in Japan, whether it be the one that dressed up like Freddie Mercury or Riho or whatever, all that they've brought could actually legitimately get over in America on national television. And Kenny refuses to admit that he was wrong. And Tony will obviously, he's been wrong about so many things, it doesn't matter. And they continue to try to do this. And it ain't gonna work. Yes, as we've seen, some people like them, some amount of people like a lot of things. But most people, whether they be the average wrestling fan, of which doesn't particularly watch Riho with great interest, or the average industry professional, is like, what the fuck? Again, that doesn't mean they're horrible people and they need to launch them off the face of the earth, but you can't expect people not to laugh when you do the shit that they've done, the way that they look and the way they've been presented on this television. It's a very, very small group of people that it would make a big difference to. And that's a problem that they just can't see that. And
yeah, and again, if your problem is that Riho and Hikaru Shida have been harassed and the bullying is bad, go look at Gail Kim's Twitter. Go look at the responses she has gotten from the same people that allegedly have a problem with the alleged bullying that Kenny Omega's friends have received.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Also, I think Gail is going to respond and react, and she already has. And she's laughing with Helms, like, Helms, did we get a gift basket? And because she doesn't care, because she lives in a real world now and has successfully prospered. It doesn't matter to her what they say on Twitter. But here's the thing I was going to say with, again, it's more Kenny's fault. I'll say this, hold your point. It's more Kenny's fault than anything that these girls have endured any verbal abuse from fans or whatever, because he put them in the position to be ridiculed because they are ridiculous. And he put them on a wrestling show in America on television. We're not talking about major goddamn Japanese talent here. We're talking about indie girls from wherever the fuck indie girls work in Japan these days.
They're his friends.
That are his friends.
That's what it is.
And so it's Kenny's fault, but at the same time, if you're going to be on TV or in any type of entertainment business, then no, you should not have to put up with people stalking you and showing up at your house, or people following you around in person when you're in public, or ambushing you at the airport. But if you can't put up with people writing bad shit about you, whether it's the goddamn newspaper or now modern day social media, you picked the wrong line of work, ladies and gentlemen. Whichever, if you take it seriously, you don't need to be doing this shit. And that goes for the last 125 years of life. Jesus.
You know, I don't know how much longer you want to go through this. I could do this all day, but Dave obviously looks like a fool throughout this thing. And again, it comes down to him acting like he's somehow the almighty figure telling you what you need to do to fix the thing. Go look at his behavior on social media. You want to talk about people that have caused the tribalism and people that don't know how to conduct themselves with the general population on Twitter. Go look at Dave Meltzer's Twitter. It's an obsession for him.
Somebody just put out something that he wrote back in the Attitude Era about Sable, where he said, it was something to the basically effective. Of course, her boob job is the whole appeal, but otherwise she looks like a middle-aged stripper.
Let's send that to Brock and let's see how that works out. But the one other thing I did want to say, because I thought it was ridiculous, and this is where you can have ridiculous conversations. Remember in the early days of AEW when you ripped on Marco Stunt for the spectacle that he was, and the response from, I think, Dave was, well, Rey Mysterio was only 5'4". It's the same thing when people are comparing Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong to anything with Riho. Anyone's bigger than her, so except Mercedes Moné. Any of the matches are Riho versus Nia Jax or anyone bigger. It's not the same thing. Don't compare Gail Kim to Riho just because they're both Asian. That's racist. They're not the same. Gail Kim looked like an athlete.
Bruce Lee was 140 pounds. It's the physical conditioning, the look, the aura, the charisma, and the way you carry yourself. And again, you could either look like a professional and an athlete, or you can look like a confused little girl going to school, no matter what age you are. You know, some of these people, Brian, I think they need to find a new line of work real quick, don't you? Some way or another. They need to find some other thing to do to generate income, possibly outside the public sphere, as they say. Wouldn't you agree?
Based on what we know and what you're telling me, yeah, I think there's a bunch of people in this conversation who need to find another occupation or maybe just create a new business. I guess would be the better example to use here.
There you go. Well, they could find a new line. Creating a new business is finding a new line of work. Because now if they're so convinced of their worth, then they ought not, like Kenny, if he's got his finger in the youth of America and he knows what the pulse is on the fucking patootie of the average person, and he knows how to appeal to their entertainment needs and wants, that's what he ought to do. He ought to start his own booking agency instead of taking his billionaires' money. He ought to bet on himself and go and branch out and start representing. He could get Hikaru Shida and Riho and Emi Sakura and all the rest of them booked. And maybe they could be one of those cleaning services where they come over and clean your house with the feather dusters while wearing their schoolgirl and Freddie Mercury outfit. Have you ever seen Freddie Mercury and a Japanese schoolgirl clean a house with a feather duster, Brian?
I don't know how comfortable I am with any of this. I don't plan to see that.
I'm just saying,
hope not to see that. I will not see that, no.
That's something you'd have to pay to see because you never see it for free. Well, if Kenny went to Shopify, our friends over at the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, 10% of all the e-commerce in the United States, and that's a very large slice. If he went to them, he'd say, hey, look, I can book these off-brand Japanese indie girls over to people's houses to dust their house with a feather duster and wear their ring outfits, and I'll take 15%. I won't even go like Moolah did and ask for half. Why, in no time, he'd be rolling in dough, and they'd be fucking coughing in dust, I guess. They'd be fucking filthy. But folks, if you've got a great idea like that, you can turn your big business idea into big money. You can hear sounds of money being made like that. More and more money.
More money. More money.
More. Give me more money. There's more money.
It keeps falling down on me.
It's the money is crushing you that is falling from the sky, ladies and gentlemen.
No music.
Yes, and the screaming from Tiger Inoki. When you want to turn your dreams into reality and make money and turn your business into a success, you need the big people behind you that knows what to do and how to do it, and the people that have that purple button that everybody, I'm telling you, the purple button is the new G-spot, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody wants to finger that thing. And you can too, or your people, your customers can finger your button.
This may not be the best example to...
Well, if your button is hooked up to Shopify, because every time somebody presses that button, you get paid. And it turns your big business idea into money. And the folks at Shopify are happy to help lead you along by the nose every step of the way to smarten you up because they know how to do this stuff. From your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates to content creation, marketing, social media campaigns, and don't forget free house cleaning with feather dusters. Shopify is if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. And right now, Brian, I'll have you know that you can get a $1 a month trial period. Has anybody not heard about this yet? I can't believe that there's anybody left in the world that has not taken advantage. Even if you don't want to sell anything, just make friends with these people. Sign up for the $1 a month trial period. And then, then you're in, and they'll they'll hang out with you and you guys can go out and talk about life. Maybe you can confide in some of the Shopify personnel about, your romantic issues and problems in your relationship. They'll listen because you're paying them. Even though it's only $1 a month, that's why it's a trial period.
Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, let's focus on the realities of this. You may have a business. You may need good online help. You may need someone to help you with your store. You may need someone you could trust. We trust and
yes, you just maybe need somebody to talk to. The problems with the health in your family.
There's someone else
sometimes these things weigh down. If you just call them and say, hey, let's meet over at Beef O'Brady's. And let's talk about these things. They have to come because you're paying them $1 a month.
Listen, that's not how it works, but whether it's Beefsteak Charlie's or PJ O'Rourke's, it doesn't matter. You need to make sure that your business is in business and doing things the right way with a partner you can trust like we do for our online store, ArcadianVanguard.com. You could do that for your store, whateverit is.com.
Yes. And whateverit is.com, I've got that locked down for 2 more years because I figure one of these days somebody's going to figure out. But nevertheless, folks, right now, if you want to lock things down, go to Shopify.com/JCE, Shopify.com/JCE for that $1 a month trial period where you can start selling and making money today. At Shopify.com/JCE with Shopify on your side. And once again, have them come over to not Beefsteak Charlie's, Beef O'Brady's. Sit down, have the OMG burger, and unburden yourself to these people. They can help you in a variety of, and many of them are licensed pastors and therapists, where they're used to hearing the worst dregs of human society spill their guts. So you're not going to shock them. Shopify.com/JCE. All righty, Brian. Well, let's move along from the house cleaning and things of that nature because we got to do a little housekeeping here. We've got to give people an update on something that, and I want to thank Peter from New Hampshire, another Cult of Cornette member who sent me something for my birthday. This was very informative because he has opened an entire chapter of our friend Vince Russo's life that I did not know took place and has not received a lot of publicity. And I wanted to let people know about it. I mean, this is because we kind of thought that we knew everything, that we had all the information we needed. And, by the way, Brian, I will say this, that for years, and you know this to be true, for years, people say, Cornette, no, he can't be telling the truth. It's got to be Cornette. He just hates the guy. Nobody can be that insufferable. Nobody can be that stupid. Nobody can be that big of a fucking douchebag. Blah, blah. No, it's got to be Cornette. But then slowly, after many years, with the advent of podcasting and the Dark Side of the Ring documentaries, and not only other people's comments about him, but his own, more specifically, people have finally started to realize, Cornette was right all along. He is that insufferable. He is that stupid. It's amazing how the worm has turned. But back in the early days, Brian, this is 1992. Oh, Peter from New Hampshire sent me a bulletin, a newsletter, Pro Wrestling Spotlight Weekly, because people who've paid any kind of close attention know that our friend Vinny Rue got his first foot in the door in the wrestling business when his later to become failed video store sponsored the Pro Wrestling Spotlight radio program in New York on whatever AM radio. And because even then, as we will find out, our friend Vinny Rue was a frustrated journalist, writer, whatever the fuck he wanted to term it at that point. And he talked him into doing a weekly newsletter that he would write a significant part of. And none of these things lasted very long But there's some interesting and revealing comments in his own words, from his own chicken lips, as they say, that in this particular, this is the issue for February 24th, 1992. Would you like to hear one of the things that really grinds Vince Russo's gears in February 1992, Brian?
Okay. Yeah, I would. I'm not sure where you're going to go with this. I know the newsletters you're speaking of. I have a lot of them. The one I always remember, which is where I kind of thought you were going, even though I guess there are probably lots of examples, was the one that began with, "Move over, Junior. I'm booking WrestleMania this year."
No, that's not the one. And by the way, bear in mind now, this is a couple of years before he conned Linda into putting him on the staff at the magazine.
Well, actually, for the record, 92 is the year it happened. He hooked up with John Arezzi in 91. Beginning in 92, he goes to New York, I think, for the steroid symposium.
Let's both say it together.
No, I can't say it at all. The steroid symposium, and he met Vince and Linda, and they started smooth talking him to get him. They thought they were going to, I think, turn Arezzi. And then Arezzi didn't want
because his partner, John Arezzi, was crusading against the steroids and ridden WWF and exposing them. And he was then, because Vince and Linda talked nice to him, he's like, "Hey, yo, let's be nice, and they'll give us stars for the show."
He wasn't calling him Junior anymore after that, I promise you.
Yeah, and then, I'm sorry, it was a couple of years later, they gave him a job on the magazine. It was about a couple of years later that he fucked the actual editor and stabbed him in the back and took over for him. But nevertheless, he's writing a column on this particular day called "Laying It on the Line." There are a few things I wish to get off my chest this week. The first is I'm sick and tired of Hulk Hogan bashers. Those who choose to bash the Hulkster do it for one reason and one reason only: jealousy.
Oh, God.
All the Hulk Hogan critics who are involved in the wrestling business should store one small detail in the back of their little opinionated minds. If it weren't for Hulk Hogan, they wouldn't have jobs. Terry Bollea has made professional wrestling what it is today, like it or not.
Is this like a point counterpoint kind of situation? Who's he right? Is he just writing other thoughts?
This is his column called "Laying It on the Line."
And his big thing that he's laying on the line is he's defending Hulk Hogan, and all the people who criticize him are jealous of him?
He's about to explain why.
The fans are jealous of him, or the other wrestlers are jealous of him?
Well, everybody's jealous of him. But he says, my question is, how long are the bashers going to harp on the steroid issue? Yes, Hulk Hogan may have made a mistake. However, allegedly, taking steroids was not it. Insiders say that some 90% of professional wrestlers today are on the juice. That's the nature of the business, to look good. Hulk's mistake came when he allegedly lied to millions of children on the Arsenio Hall show.
No, he lied.
But the bottom line is this: he's human, and we all make mistakes.
He didn't allegedly lie. He lied. I think even he later admitted it. He lied on Arsenio Hall.
Well, he did. You see, Russo would get sued because all he had was that shitty video store. There's some another item which really
Vince Russo saw the notorious Arsenio Hall Hulk Hogan appearance and said, "Hogan's getting a bum rap." No one had that reaction. Nobody. The common fan did not have that reaction. The reaction was, this man is lying to us.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Another item which really irritated me this week was the reports that Hulk Hogan was seen taking cocaine on an airplane in 1983. You know what? Who the hell cares? What Hulk Hogan does with his personal life is not my business. If you don't think half of Hollywood and a good portion of professional athletes haven't tried cocaine at one time or another, you had better get your head examined. This isn't reporting, it's bashing. Which brings me to my third problem. Sheet writers in general take reporting on professional wrestling way too seriously. This is the world of make-believe, fellas. A world where grown men carry reptiles to the ring, wear makeup and dress in funny costumes. You ever hear of Disneyland? Well, it's kind of like that. It's supposed to be nothing but entertainment. To try and cover this sport with a New York Times approach is pointless. You see what he already felt about the wrestling, and he hadn't changed his opinion or presentation when he actually walked into the middle of a room of professionals. Hold on, one closing thought here. I'm an entertainment critic, not a sheet writer. That's why he's writing in a sheet called Pro Wrestling Spotlight Weekly. I feel I represent the common man. I am by no means an authority. However, 20 years of following the sport and a degree in journalism from Indiana State University gives me all the credentials I need.
Oh, boy.
Now say what you were going to say.
I don't even remember exactly what it was. It's a weird defense. Oh, that's what I was going to say. He said everyone who has a problem with Hulk Hogan is jealous of him. I don't think that's necessarily it. But then he goes on to criticize the sheet writers. Maybe there was jealousy there. Because I think, had met a lot of those guys already. Meltzer, some of the others. I don't think any of them took him seriously. And then he started his own newsletter with John Arezzi, which quickly dissolved and, as their relationship broke up. But he wanted to get involved in their game. Can't say I'm an entertainment critic. You're writing in a wrestling newsletter. It just, so when, and again, we could say whatever we want about Dave Meltzer and his behavior now. But I would have to say that serious wrestling journalism and a serious look at what was happening was needed. And actually, it's right around this period of time where you could argue it had some positive effects on the wrestling business.
Well, but see, now I think in the same issue here, there's one more column. I think he's already realized the mistake he's making, old Vinny Roo here, because he's looking at things as an outsider. So this is the part of his resume, his life, his background, his history that apparently has been covered up. And nobody knew about this. Are you ready? Did you know that Vince Russo went to wrestling school?
I did know this, yes.
You knew this?
I have those newsletters, so I remember.
Well, you son of a bitch, you never told me.
I thought you knew this. I guess I never realized no one ever talks about it. But yeah, there was I think a multi-part series of him going to Johnny Rodz' wrestling school to learn how to be a wrestler.
Well, I got the first
because he wanted to break into the wrestling business. That was his real dream.
Now, bear in mind, folks, again, this is 1992. When I'm reading this, Vince Russo is the 30-year-old owner of a video store who thinks he's a journalist. But this column is titled The Making of a Champion. Beginning this week, I'm going to attempt something that I don't believe has ever been done before. I have discovered a quote-unquote physical monster of whom I am going to have trained to become a professional wrestler. To add to that, I am also going through the training in order to become my client's personal manager. Yes, you may be thinking this has probably been done a million times before by those sick enough to do so. However, this time is different. During my venture, I'm going to take the readers of Pro Wrestling Spotlight Weekly along with me every step of the way. You're going to get firsthand information on exactly what it takes to become a professional wrestler or manager. The ups, the downs, the trials and tribulations. You'll be there for the entire ride. If we fail, you'll suffer our disappointment. If we succeed, you will share our excitement. Let me begin by telling you about my find. His name is Bo Davis. He is a 29-year-old Black American. Wasn't that a Bowie song? And a Black American.
No, it was Young
Black
Americans. Young Americans.
Well.
But Luther Vandross was on that record.
Well, there you go. And he's a Black American.
He was.
I don't know, is Vandross, is he a foreigner?
Well, he's dead now.
Well, in that case, he's right on American soil.
He's from Philadelphia. He's not a foreigner.
Well, it depends on what you think about Philadelphia. Bo Davis is a 29-year-old Black American with a body out of the mold of a gladiator. He stands 6'4" and tips the scale at 310 pounds. He power lifts at Gold's Gym 5 times a week and bench presses in the vicinity of 500 a steroid in his life.
Wow.
I already weigh as he puts it, I already weigh 310 pounds. What do I need steroids for? Bo is a 2-time Golden Gloves champion, has these magnificent green eyes that give him that special look.
What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know where that came from.
That special look.
He is extremely athletic, but has never wrestled a day in his life. As his manager, I stand 6 feet tall and weigh approximately 185 pounds. He must have been skinny back in those days. I also don't possess any wrestling background. However, I do throw my 4-year-old and 1-year-old sons around pretty good. Needless to say, I'm the heavyweight champion of my household, although the 4-year-old almost got a 3 count on me this past week.
Oh, boy.
There you have it, the monster and the brain. Now all we need is the proper training and education. And then he goes, oh, you have to go to the right training, right? To become the best, you must be trained by the best. There's only one place to go. Johnny Rodz' School of Professional Wrestling at the world-famous Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn. This may seem to be a paid ad, but it's not. There are 3 reasons why I chose Rodz' school. 1, this man wrestled in the WWF for 24 years. As a matter of fact, he could probably throw around half of the wrestlers in the WWF today. He's done everything in the world of wrestling that one man could possibly do. Johnny Rodz is professional wrestling. Without being disrespectful, Brian, to Johnny Rodz, do you think that's somewhat hyperbolic at least?
Again, I don't want to be disrespectful. At that time, there weren't that many public wrestling schools. There was the Monster Factory. There was Gleason's Gym, Johnny Rodz. Not as famous as the Monster Factory.
He hasn't done everything in wrestling that one man can possibly do if you consider, I don't know, Bruno Sammartino, Jim Barnett, fucking Luthez. The list goes on.
Yeah, Java Root got a good push in L.A. for a bit.
That is true, and we must remember that. Number 2, I've seen a few of his students wrestle. 1 is Skull Von Crush. This kid can wrestle. I saw him on a card in Staten Island.
Did it say Crush? Crush or Cruss?
Well, Skull Von Cruss. I thought it was Crush. It's Cruss?
Originally, it was Cruss, yeah.
That's even worse. He tried to get that guy booked for years. And finally, number 3, honesty. Where in 1992 can you find a man that closes a deal on a handshake? No contracts, no clauses. That's the type of man Johnny Rodz is. I guarantee you that what did Dennis Coralluzzo in his New Jersey accent he used to call dipshits mooks? This fucking mook walked in this goddamn wrestling school and brought this big jacked up bodybuilder and said, hey, I've got a radio show, and if you'll train us, we'll plug you on the radio in our newsletter. And that's why there was no contracts. It was a handshake. What the fuck?
I was thinking it was the other way. Like, hey, me and this guy, we got some money. We want you to train us. Sure, give me the money. Do we need a contract? No contract. No.
Oh, I guarantee you Russo didn't spend any money. But anyway, then basically it goes into that the first day they were taught simple rolls. I first think Bo was hesitant to roll. I think you can understand how a man that size may be reluctant to hit the canvas. But after Coach Johnny had Bo doing some 15 to 20 rolls before the day was 15 forward rolls in fucking day. Jesus Christ, where did the time go? And again, this is so he was trying to get in the goddamn business then and trying to use this poor Bo Davis as a meal ticket. How many parts was this series, Brian? How did this all turn out? It's news to me.
I don't remember exactly. I'm not even sure if it completed. I think he determined at the end that he couldn't necessarily do what he really wanted to do, which was be a manager. I'm looking up Bo Davis, actually. It's not the famous Bo Davis. That's the current head coach for the New Orleans Saints, or the defensive line coach. It better not be. Defensive line coach, I should have said. But it looks like it could be maybe, let's see if this is the person, Harold Davis Jr.
Oh, you doesn't got to call him Jr.
Well, just because he's from Long Island. 59 years old. He was born in 56. How old would he have been in 90? No, it can't be the same guy. 132 pounds. It ain't the same guy.
No, it ain't the same guy. Not unless he's had most of his body.
Because I looked up Bo Davis Golden Gloves. I mean, that's New York Golden Gloves. That's the simplest way to try to find it.
Well, do you think he's never told the truth about anything else in his life? You think he's telling the truth about this? He probably told Johnny Rods, this guy, he boxed. He never wrestled.
But he's got that special look.
There's those interesting green eyes.
They're special eyes.
Limpid pools of azure. So anyway, that's an example of not only Vince Russo's writing style, but his attitude toward the wrestling business and his desperate attempts even then to get into the wrestling business. And it was a new chapter for me. But, you know, Brian, the degree in journalism, you can't argue with that. Of course, it was Indiana State University in Evansville. You can argue with that.
Man, don't give those.
But I'm just thinking, you know, has he just been like maybe like a Studs Terkel or an F. Scott Fitzgerald and has just invented his own particular style of writing and us plebeians, we just don't get it. We don't understand his greatness. Is he the next Shakespeare and future generations? People will uncover these writings of his from the bottoms of bird cages and basements all over the country and suddenly realize genius that was unrecognized in the modern day?
No.
Do you think?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I read a lot. I read a lot of different things, a lot of different styles of prose. I just don't think he's very good. I think you're a good writer.
Well, I was good. You know,
you don't have a journalism degree. I mean, I don't think journalism degree means anything. I think it just means you're done with college. It doesn't mean you're actually going to get a job as a journalist or have the skills. And I'm not even just talking about Russo. There's other people out there like that.
Well, I'm just talking about me right now because that's what I was going to say is I think my writing is quite accomplished despite the fact that I never had any formal training or I just write by ear is what I just, you know, you've heard people play by ear. Well, I can't play, but I write by ear. Or when I write by eye, what would you write by if you play by ear? What organ would you use on your butt? Nevertheless, folks, write in and answer that question for us. But in the meantime, if you folks out there would like to read about wrestling from someone that can actually write, then have I got news for you. Heroes and Friends, Pro Wrestling Remembrances by Jim Cornette is my brand new book, a collector's edition with multiple color illustrations, 100 illustrations and photos in all, 100-page, 8.5 by 11 with color covers and the whole shebang. That is going to go on sale on Saturday, October 11th at noon Eastern at jimcornette.com as part of the big Cornette's Collectibles holiday sale. And as we've been mentioning over the past few weeks, profiles or remembrances then, because they're not really profiles, they're part firsthand recollections, part stories, part historical perspectives. But Bobby Heenan, The Sheik, Bruno Sammartino, Ray Stevens, The Dream Machine, Paul Bearer, Vader, Boo Bradley, Sputnik Monroe, Lance Russell, Ron Wright, and the Green Shadow, Pat Malone. You're going to learn some things you don't know about wrestling. You're going to see pictures that have not been ever seen by the public, or if they have, some not in 40 or 50 years. And you're going to be able to get the first look at my photography as it's now being transferred digitally off the original negatives. And you can get all that at jimcornette.com on Saturday, October 11th. And then tell me what you think about my writing versus the writing of the modern day bard of Evansville, the illustrious Vince Russo, and tell me who you think's got the degree and maybe who's got the high fever. But anyway, that sale goes, as I said, October the 11th, and the big 10, 20, and 40 sale on action figures. $10 off the Jim Cornette action figures, $20 off the tag team sets, $40 off the Midnight Express collector's set, plus new 8x10 photos, a variety of things from the vault, and another publication that we hope to be revealing we will have a limited number of for sale, and that'll be probably on the program next week. Did I mention JimCornette.com, Brian? It's good to get that in there again.
That's right.
So, and behind the curtain for the holiday season, my award-winning graphic novel will be $5 off, so you can get it for $19.95 if you want stocking stuffers. Get 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 of them, whatever, and stick them to people's underwear. They will thank you because also they're very heavy-duty paper and coated paper, so it helps prevent bladder leaks.
Once again, at JimCornette.com.
Yes. So those were my notes. Brian, I guess that MJF had just said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of wallowing in the cesspool of obscurity that is the AEW programs where everything looks the same. So I'm going to go to Mexico and be the biggest heel in fucking wrestling. And this is a classic example of what a difference in presentation and environment can do for the same guy. I mean, MJF has been not only overexposed in terms of that they've had him do a variety of things that were detrimental to his overall aura with the fans over the course of the past few years with the booking. He's had to work with opponents that he had to try to make by just doing interviews because the booking didn't support them either. He's had to muddle his way through a lot of goofy issues and associate with people that was detrimental to, again, his presentation. But he goes to Mexico, of all places, and is the top heel, becomes the champion, and then loses the belt to their most over babyface in front of a sellout crowd on their big anniversary show, their version of WrestleMania, and tears the house down and has the consensus best match on the show while doing like a total of 4 dangerous things and not using one stick of furniture or a flamethrower. If that don't tell you what difference the presentation and story and opponent can make in even a great talented guy showing it or just being part of the fucking scenery, that's it, isn't it?
You know, I'm really glad you watched this. Maybe the best thing to come out of the AEW CMLL relationship has been the MJF and Arena Mexico run. You know, they were teasing things on TV, I guess before, was it Forbidden Door or whatever, with MJF and Mystico. And it really didn't click. It was kind of in the middle of everything with the Hurt Syndicate. Mystico, unfortunately, is just not that over here unless you're in a town where there's a population that is familiar with him from CMLL. But in his environment, he's the biggest babyface in wrestling.
Yeah.
And MJF has been having, I would say, even though there's not a lot of promos attached to it, maybe the best heel run of anyone in wrestling this year in Mexico, where he deserves a ton of credit. His opponents, and in this case, we'll talk about this match, Mystico deserve credit. But so much of it's the energy and the fans. And I mean, it's almost like real heat. You know, it's something you don't really see that much anymore. But let's talk about whatever you think about all this.
Well, and that's the thing, first of all, is it's part of the package that, but you can't just say, okay, you know, because Mystico's over for his audience and his environment, you can put anybody in there. And the reason why MJF works, number one, American heel style works in Lucha Libre in Mexico because they understand it. It makes sense. They don't have to do promos. MJF doesn't have to do a lot of promos because MJF is one of the few guys who can still be a heel, who understands how to be a heel in the ring, how to cheat and take advantage and display contempt and everything with his body language, where he doesn't need to, tell him verbally. But the thing is, a lot of people go, "Oh, Cornette, he hates the lucha." No, I still think Mystico's work is the shits, and I'll explain more in detail why I think that and why that's true and why it doesn't matter here. I don't hate luchadors. I hate luchadors trying to be foisted off on television in America when they ain't going to get over and it just gets in the goddamn way. Lucha Libre is used to the gaga, and the gaga is not off-putting to any of their fans because there's always been the gaga. And the style has not changed drastically at the core of it in all these years. So it always still has been more of a looser style where the American audience that was used to watching shit at the same time in America in the 60s, 70s would go, "That's faker than shit." In this environment, lucha works because it's the lucha environment. And then I don't believe that an American babyface could get over anywhere near the level of Mystico or the top luchador faces, the Technicos. But you can take an American heel and put him in that environment, especially now, because they hate Americans. And you can have him play that up, and then if he can perform in the ring, then you can get heat. And then that American style works in lucha in Mexico. And it's a different animal when you're trying to bring something from that culture here, just like when you're trying to bring certain things from here to Japan or certain things from Japan here. But it's as simple as that. This is their environment, and MJF's the guest star, and he's going in and he's working more like an old school territory heel than anybody else in the world, and it works. And it was refreshing to watch. I have no idea what the fuck was going on
the manager
around. Well, just
Abraham
because
Lincoln.
the clip that I saw, or the match that I saw the whole thing, but it was all in Spanish. So I don't know why that. I can imagine the concept of why MJF has a manager dressed as Abraham Lincoln waving an American flag. I don't know who Mystico's babyface masked manager was. I don't know why Mystico's music starts with Undertaker's bong repeated like fucking 3 or 4 times and then going into that horrible ass Air Supply music that they play for him, but the people sing it, the whole building.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
They're sold, what do they hold? 17,000 people, whatever, they're fucking sold out. And so the presentation, the crowd was hot and you could hear them, but the audio was muffled. Maybe we're just spoiled now with production up here, but the announcers were real loud. The ring noise was kind of low. The crowd was muddy, so you could hear them yelling, but not like individually crisp things. Have I described that correctly?
I think so, yeah.
But nevertheless, MJF started he jump-started it, interrupted the music, right? And instantly fucking chucks him out to the floor and posts him, and Mystico gets juice. And then he's got the heat going from the start. And again, he kept on the guy. He gave him hope spots. It was a nice pace where the people could understand it. He could heal the people at the same time, and they're shocked at seeing the guy bleeding already. And Mystico, when he'd fire back up or what, his work is the shits. You can see right through it, but they don't care because he's over in that environment for that audience. They love him, so they ain't seeing it. And as I said, MJF did 4 dangerous things. He did a goddamn cartwheel dive over the top rope. and stuck it and would have landed on his feet. But when the guy fell, he fucking tripped MJF. And MJF almost went face first into the railing. But he did the spot where he hits the guy in the face with his dick. And that made Mystico pissed off and he fired up. But MJF stopped him with a thumb in the eye. Just the little things. But at the same time, Mystico's pumping the blood and his mask is torn. And then they did a great
visual. It was a really great visual.
Because, you can see the blood dripping from the guy's. If he hadn't been bleeding, his mask was open enough that you could almost see what he looked like. But because the blood was covering it, it still, it worked. And I mean, they did the big yay boo and Mystico made a comeback. And again, I wrote Mystico's timing is terrible. MJF has to wait on him, but he's waiting on him fine, and he's there for everything. And then Mystico did the big dive, got the big pop. And then they did a spot where, again, I swear to God, nobody saw it, but it's driving me crazy about this guy, and it shows how smooth MJF is. Mystico hit the big leaping Mexican destroyer, right? And gets a big pop, and MJF bounces up and takes a big bump and lands and squirms on his back to where when Mystico covers him, 1, 2, he can get his leg on a rope. And when Mystico goes to cover him, the idiot hooks MJF's leg and pulls it away from the rope. So MJF had to kick out on his big move instead of getting a foot on the rope. See, Mystico fucked himself. But the people are chanting Mystico, Mystico. And then, what did I say? 4 dangerous things. This is number 2 or number 3. MJF hit a package pile driver on the guy on the apron of the ring perfectly. And part of it has to do with Mystico's fucking 170 pounds or whatever he is. You can do that. But boom, and then MJF is like telling the fat referee, count him out. And they milk the count, and now the guy's bleeding, and he's been dropped on his head. And it's a 20 count down there. And finally, he beat the count just the nick of time, got a big pop, and now MJF is shit. Holy God. And MJF picks him up, leaping tombstone. 1, 2, he kicked out. Holy shit. And that's the death blow in Mexico. So people are going crazy, and now we're there. It's been 20 minutes, whatever. The guy's covered in blood. He's drenched. You've hit him with a couple big false finishes. Now let's go. MJF gets his fucking ring, and old Honest Abe draws the referee. But as MJF goes to swing, Mystico nut shots MJF. And small packages him. 1, 2, MJF kicks, but gets a big pop. And Mystico goes to the top, but MJF crotches him, tries for a tombstone off the turnbuckle, but Mystico foils it. Hurricane Rana's him, knocks manager Honest Abe off the apron, spins into the armbar on MJF, and MJF tapped out, and the people went, Happy New Year. And just fucking jumped up and down, screaming and clapping and fucking celebrate.
I love the way they did it, too, with him just quickly grinding on the arm. MJF tapped. They didn't wait too long. It was kind of perfectly timed, quick.
Yes, because that's the way. You don't lay there in the fucking hold for a minute, stationary, motionless, and then tap. That's goddamn flatter to fucking fart and fucking 4 o'clock. You get while the people are up and this stuff is going on. Oh my God, he's got me. Oh shit. Boom, boom, boom. But anyway, when he's got a baby face that's over and the title was on the line, and their title means something down there. It's not like here where they've got 100 of them, I guess. And then that's, it's an amazing performance.
It was one of the big matches on the anniversary show, traditionally the biggest show of the year for CMLL. It may have been my favorite match of the year. I mean, it's in the conversation. Again, not saying Mystico's a great worker. He isn't.
But it was different, and it was wrestling.
Yeah.
That's why, that it could be, it's one of my top, because there was legitimate audience reaction instead of singing they sang the song, but they only sang the song of the babyface, and then they quit singing. And it was people working, having a wrestling match. There were no tables that they had to go through. Didn't have 15 chairs. They worked the count outs of the outside the ring business to add drama instead of just the referee standing there with their dick in their hand because they were on the floor for 5 minutes at a time. It was wrestling. And that's the kind of shit MJF puts together when he has something to work with. And that's when everybody's, Cornette always blows MJF. He's sucked for the past few years. Yes, I've been saying he's been sucking for the past few years. It's not his fault. He can do it. Give him something to work with. The reason why he stinks for the past few years is because of the bucket of shit that he's stuck in.
Yeah, and unfortunately that taints the way a lot of people see him, because we even hear from some people that it's crazy. It's like, he's never been a good promo. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's been the best promo in the company.
You know what? They're tired of the one he's been doing because it's the only thing he can do now, because they just have make him make up his own shit about fucking nothing.
He's not a referee, and he is over on their show. But this is kind of like Sonny Fargo going from being the referee to causing the Mid-South Coliseum to go apeshit.
Yeah.
Within a couple of days. You see this, and again, it's not a one-off. He's been going down there. AEW should just put that footage on Dynamite. Those matches uncut. If you really want to make it pleasurable, the Spanish commentary, not your commentators. And just run that stuff. The show they did from Arena Mexico is like their best ratings. Just air this stuff. This is the MJF that we miss. This is the way MJF should be presented. I mean, I don't know about honestly.
Yeah, well,
the manager.
Show it. Yeah, no, that guy. Who the fuck thought they would have found somebody look like Abe Lincoln in Mexico? But if they showed this match on AEW television, it would get a bigger number than their standard shit, because people would know that Dick the Boozer and the Boar Horseman weren't going to wander out, but also it would get MJF over more to the American audience for them to see him have this match, even if he loses, than for him to beat somebody on this fucking AEW show.
Remember Watts, I think it was, one weekend instead of the Sunday show, or maybe a couple of weeks, they aired Flair Steamboat or Flair Terry Funk, and it did better numbers than WCW TV was doing.
Yeah.
They should do that. MJF in Mexico, and just air the arc of everything he's done in Arena Mexico. It's better than the stuff in AEW. And again, you see a guy presented like that, getting those kind of reactions, Mystico or MJF, it makes them seem like a much bigger star than they even are, and they're big stars.
But no, we need more time for the flamethrower, Brian.
See, that's the thing. If this was AEW, the blood that happened at the beginning, which worked, and again, the visual, I've always been a mark for the visual. You used to see in the magazines of the masked guy with a cut in a mask. You could almost see who they are, and they're bleeding everywhere. It worked for this match. If it was AEW, there would have been a few table spots. Probably would have been a run into the barricade. You know, they would have gone too far. And you don't need...
Four other people would have bled before they saw the main babyface bleed.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not even just about the blood, like, oh, their matches are so bloody. No. They set up why he was bleeding. It made sense. It worked here for this. They didn't do any superfluous, nonsensical violence. And AEW, they would have. MJF, I mean, we just saw the thumbtack match. You know, same week we saw the thumbtack match.
They were 12 hours apart, come to think of it, because he had the match on the one night in Mexico, and then so he had one of the best matches we've seen all year on Friday night, and then Saturday afternoon came back to AEW that pays him more money and had that shitty garbage thing with Briscoe, poor fella.
You know, I'm not kidding. They really should just license that footage from CMLL and air it as a special instead of Dynamite one week and see what happens.
What do you think the chances are, Brian?
The chance of Tony Khan doing the right thing or airing that stuff and showing MJF as a star?
Yes.
Probably unlikely. There's a lot of Death Riders footage that has to be aired, and the Young Bucks got to do their comedy. And
well, I'm just thinking that if he actually did, since most people didn't expect it, then maybe that'd be something we could get into on Prize Picks. Our friends over at Prize Picks, the daily fantasy that lots of people like to have, the daily fantasy sports app that they get on and play and just brings fulfillment to their loins. If they had an option on Prize Picks where you could say, what number of smart things is Tony Khan going to do this week? More or less than 2? But then maybe just, you might be able to make some money. Just a thought. Did you hear about Stacks?
From NXT? No. What happened?
No. From Prize Picks. Prize Picks is now the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. I guess you can just stack him, one right on top of each other, I guess. If you want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. Can you imagine these other communist apps that wouldn't let you do things freely? And you can follow, this is also new, you can follow the other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Boom, plagiarism at your fingertips. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like, you can steal those sumbitches.
A celebrity
just
partner?
Take this. Well, yes, some people have celebrity partners.
Me and Scarlett Johansson over here are going to be on Prize Picks. How you doing?
Yeah. And then you're stealing her fucking picks. And you hit the follow button and you check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks, and then you know what to do. And you wait till they're not looking, and you jump in there and you steal their shit and you make money on it.
Let's not go too far while I'm laughing over here. But once again, Prize Picks, if you do have picks, this is the place to go, and maybe you'll get a cash prize or a prize or whatever we're allowed to say.
Yes, and there's cash involved in this in some kind of fashion. You daily fantasy fantasizers, you know what we're talking about. And again, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose pricks you like, or you like their picks.
Yeah.
One of those things.
I like your prick.
Pick those pricks. And Prize Picks.
How did this degenerate into such a mess? Prize Picks, ladies and gentlemen.
Prize Picks, they offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. How do they pay you? I don't see that there. They pay you in green stamps. But you can join millions of users, so apparently most people aren't upset about it. And sign up
it's
for
not
America's
green stamps. Let's just say for the record, it's not green stamps. You'll be paid in the denomination that is
currency
right.
of the realm.
That is right.
That is part of your agreement. Join millions of users and just be a user. Start using every day until you quit using. Sign up for America's #1 fantasy sports app by downloading the Prize Picks app today and use the code JCE. And you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is the code JCE to get $50 in lineups when you play $5. And that sounds like a good deal to me. Prize Picks, it's good to be right, but it's even better to be the king.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just added that last part. But it's good to be right. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. All right, well, I guess it's time to address all the sickos out there in the audience, Brian. We got to go to the AEW portion of the programming for all of the various people with odd habits and likes. Actually, this was September 24th. I can say that with confidence, and they were in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I continue to have no idea what they think they're going to accomplish out of this. Because as soon as they do something, I'm looking at these notes, they shoot it down or spoil it in some fashion. And everything that they've... Adam Page is the world champion, right? And boy, that was their first mistake. But instead of treating him again like a world champion, he opens the program in a poorly microphoned backstage little promo where he is challenging the best wrestler in Pittsburgh. The world champion is issuing challenges. He said, come on out here and face me. You think you're somebody. And he gets Lee Moriarty for the world title. How many title shots against Steve Austin did Taka Michinoku get?
I don't recall any title shots.
What purpose to, and you know, we're not going to get to it yet because it wasn't first, but it's not spoiling anything that it took him 10 minutes or more to beat this fucking guy. What is their thought process behind having the world champion just, hey, come on out, anybody out there, Lee Moriarty, here's a shot at the world title, and he's a babyface. What? I could understand if it was a heel champion challenging job guys to get heat. Help me.
And he challenged the best wrestler in Pittsburgh, and from what I understand, Lee Moriarty was like seconds away from being tackled by Dominic DeNucci. So, I mean, who knows what could have happened here.
I'm surprised Britt Baker didn't come out and stretch him.
Well, I don't know if this is the time to talk about it, but why not? It says something that Britt Baker was not here on this show.
Well, you don't think she's still in the wrestling business, do you? How long has it been since anybody's seen her? She's got a contract with a billionaire who will send a check to her house every week or every 2 weeks, whatever the pay period is. She never has to show up, go anywhere. He's obviously uncomfortable dealing with her, so he's put her on ice. And she can just sit there and make her money and do nothing.
No, I just saw something like a week ago. A bunch of listeners sent it over and then it kind of died. But Dallas Page went on Twitter. Because I think he did like an interview with her. And she talked about, how hard she's working for everything. And Dallas Page put up something like, yo, Tony, she's ready. Hit her up, whatever it was. It was basically him on behalf of her saying she's not being booked. But she wants to be booked. She's ready to be booked. But she's not being booked. And we know Tony keeps people off TV if he thinks they're going to WWE. We also know that there have been stories about Britt Baker having problems with lots of people there. So who knows what it is, but apparently she's ready to come back.
That's what she's telling him. That's why he doesn't want to see her. So she's ready to come back. Send her another check. Don't let her show up. But it's insane. I would love to get the inter-office payroll on whether there's more people being paid to come to work or paid to stay away.
Jericho's being paid right now too, isn't he?
Well,
there's another guy. I mean, how many people are there in the company that are being paid? It's amazing how much money would be spent every week on people not being booked.
Well, let's talk about a few of the people that shouldn't have been booked. So the opening match on the show was for the tag team title. Bandito and Burger King defending against Ricochet's, what are they now? They're not the Gates of Agony anymore. They're the Demand, In Demand.
Well,
are they?
I think the Demand may be lacking. No, the Demand may be the overall trio. They're now just GOA as opposed to Gates of Agony.
Well, it's Tia Leone and Bishop Khan. So correct me again if I'm wrong, but over the last 2 weeks, didn't they do a little program with the Hurt Syndicate to try to start getting these guys over? And I know these things blur, but I think they won at the pay-per-view, didn't they? The Ricochet and his felons here.
I don't know if
beat the Hurt Syndicate.
I don't want to call anyone a felon, but him and his group, they beat the Hurt Syndicate. Yes.
So it was Saturday. They bring them out on TV the following Wednesday and beat them. What the fuck? The Hurt Syndicate just put these guys over on a pay-per-view. So now, okay, show that and then have them beat somebody and get some type of credibility, reputation on TV and talk about we want a tag title match and fucking maybe do something to old Bandito and his erstwhile partner that would piss them off. And, well, we'll fight you. They just show up, wrestle for the tag team title, and get beat. They had a messy match. At one point, they tried to do 2 spots at the same time. 2 guys one place, 2 guys the other place. Camera missed both. Aubrey Ed was the referee who left the ring for absolutely no reason to just run and check on Brody King so that Ricochet could get in the ring with a chair. And then she slid back in the ring and caught him with the chair, drawing back to hit somebody. Pointed her finger at him, didn't disqualify him, kicked him out of ringside. He's in the ring with a chair. And the referee saw him.
And she wasn't afraid either. She jumped in front of the chair.
Yes. Because that was her spot to make where she could take that stance where she throws one leg out and butts her ass out and looks all authoritative. So the match continued after that and continued to be sloppy. And then Bandito beat him flat in the middle with a fucking German suplex. It took a while, but he beat him flat in the middle. So thank you for coming. What was the use of the Hurt Syndicate putting him over?
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. If you're the Hurt Syndicate, if you're any veteran, if you're any wrestler, does that kind of thing upset you? The idea you put someone over on a pay-per-view or a big event, and then days later they're just losing a match?
Yes. I mean, for no reason. Why would you not? Okay, these guys they're really fucking making waves. They just beat the Hurt Syndicate on pay-per-view. When's the last time you saw them lose? Oh, look here, they're beating fucking Dipshit and his brother Tits, whoever. And Ricochet is talking. He is an annoying talker. They should be the World Tag Team Champions. And then do something, and then give them a title match when there's a meaning behind it. They've done something to the champions. And advertise it ahead of time. Imagine that. Or just bring them TV Wednesday and let's beat them. All right. Are you ready for the world title match with Hangman, Adam Page, and Lee Moriarty?
Oh boy, am I.
Now Lee Moriarty is coming out to the ring wearing a lucha mask. Is this all a rib where they just get to dress up in the costumes they can afford to buy? And again, as I mentioned at the top of the program, or talking about at the top of the program when Page issued the challenge, it's a babyface match with the world champion against Nobody Jones that the world champion asked for no reason. Nobody gives the world champion all he can handle for over 10 minutes. And then this was their finish. Lee Moriarty got a submission hold, then got a 2 count on Page, then got another submission hold, then foiled a dead eye, and then Page hit him with a clothesline and a dead eye and beat him 1, 2, 3. What the who does these finishes? Did I miss any little minute details that would have elevated this to the next level, Brian, or was that pretty much what happened?
Do you think this match elevated Lee Moriarty at all, even in a loss?
Well, no, because we're not ever going to see him again for another 6 months on this show. And the next time we see him, he probably is not going to win anyway. And he's, I guess, been in Ring of Honor, which they still do somewhere for something. And what? No. It just makes Page look further like one of the fucking boys. And he don't need any help with that. He's as bland and as blend into the fucking scenery as you can be to be a world champion. Did you hear the rumors that Edge started, Brian? with his promo on this program when what he told Christian.
I believe I know what you're talking about. Yes.
The footage is in the locker room after All Out. They're trying to get a word with Edge, and he's all broke up over what happened to Beth. You remember Beth Phoenix got spike pile driven by FTR. And one would think that would break a husband up to have his wife the victim of a spike pile drive. So he's all upset, and he goes in the locker room, and he's telling Christian, I can't do this anymore. It's my family. This is just too much. And he's throwing his shit in his bag, and Christian's like, what the fuck? I'm going home. I don't know if I'm coming back. I can't do this to my family anymore. I love you, man. See you later. I'm like, Jesus Christ. He's taking another vacation. They say now he's shooting a television series somewhere. So he's going to be off. They just spike pile drove his wife. They've just shot a hot angle. And the guy that's instrumental in the whole thing is going to take time off to shoot a TV show. Then why did they spike pile drive his fucking wife? But the rumors that got started were that the people were actually saying that Tony Khan had let Edge agreed to let Edge go and wrestle John Cena on one of Cena's retirement matches because of their tremendous rivalry. And people actually bought this and started repeating it, which is another case of what the fuck are people thinking? Although, to be fair, with some of the decisions Tony Khan has made, you never know. But it was because Edge did the tribute to Cena at the pay-per-view and got the people to chant Cena on the AEW pay-per-view. And because they'd had a rivalry, it's just too coincidental, Brian. That's where Edge is going. He's leaving. He's going back to WWE to wrestle Cena. What the fuck? I hate to be the one to shoot those rumors down. Well, you shoot at them a little while.
Well, that would be the only thing worse than my wife got hurt. I have to leave. I'm going to quit wrestling. And then word gets out right away that he's going to film a show and everyone knows it. And then however long a period of time, he comes back to try to heat up something that needs the heat now. So I don't know how that's going to work. And I think that's a little less likely than he's going to go. Can you imagine how bad that would be if he came back, the team of Christian? Hey, I thought you were leaving for a while. Oh, I had to go do something. And that something would be wrestle under a different name in the bigger company to lose to John Cena? Because they're not I guarantee you may be surprised by who Cena puts over this last year. He ain't putting over Edge if Edge doesn't work there.
No.
But again, like you said, I know they were in their hometown. That's what they were waiting for the FTR match for. They should have waited for them to team for that, but they did that at the previous pay-per-view. Having Beth come out, they thought that was going to be a big moment. They did the big angle. Does this help or hurt the angle?
And it kills the angle. You can't follow up on that. You can't reheat 6-week-old meatloaf and have it anything other than dry. If they were going to do an angle of pile driving Edge's wife, then Edge needs to be in the picture on a weekly basis for television and leading up to the next pay-per-view, because in 3 months or whatever it is, they ain't going to give a shit. If they give a shit now in the middle of all this other chaos, if it did stand out, it won't in 3 months. The bloom is off the rose. You can't get the lightning back in the bottle. Even hot angles between top talent in successful territories have in the past almost exclusively gone cold when something happened, an injury or something, to take it away, and they tried to revisit it later and they couldn't. It was too late. Pepper Gomez and Ray Stevens were still successful after the big match, but not as successful as they had been after the Stevens had the wreck, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So when they're trying to find something that actually works for people to care about the match and the people in it instead of the stunt show and who's going to get hospitalized. You can't just do this and then, oh, well, boy, in 3 months when he comes back, he's really going to surprise everybody. Brian, if somebody spike pile drives your wife, are you going to go home and sit with her for 3 months, or are you going to come back next week with a stick and try to find the guy?
Yeah, I think you would try to do something. Not, I'm going to give up on everything and just go home. And by the way, we're talking about how this screws up the angle. Now you got to do something different with FTR in the meantime, as opposed to having some sort of interaction on a weekly basis with Edge and Christian.
Well, one would think that they would keep FTR as strong as possible in order to be a force to be reckoned with and somewhat of a heat-getting entity when Edge comes back, but no, because now FTR's fate is to get back in the kiddie pool. The very next segment, there's Tony Schiavone in the ring with FTR and Stokely. And they gave the heel apologies for what happened to Beth. It was all a mistake. It was Edge's fault. Stokely forgave Beth for what she did to him. You know, Cash or Dax said I was blind with sweat. I got punched in my bad nose. I couldn't see it was Beth. Cash can talk if he has any material. Stokely can talk even if he doesn't have any material. He can just bullshit. But if he had a decent issue and some credibility as a manager, you could get something. And Dax, he can talk, but I don't know if he can talk as good as Cash now because I think I'm tired of hearing Dax. But they got nothing to talk about that makes any sense. And they've never gone on a reign of terror for the things that they say to have any gravitas. And then suddenly, after they're cutting this promo about how, you know, they're sorry about disingenuously sorry and fake apologizing, Willow Nightingale comes out. So Willow Nightingale, a bouncy, peppy woman, gets in the ring with these 3 male heels and proceeds to just tell them the fuck way it's going to be. I look up to Beth Phoenix. She inspired me to be a wrestler. And I don't like the way that you guys are talking, so you need to apologize and mean it or get the heck out of my ring. What the if they had any heat, it was gone with a little preliminary girl just bopping in the ring and telling him off. And then she slapped Stokely. And before FTR get a hold of her, here comes Hong Kong Phooey and Kevin Knight. They hit the ring and they bump FTR out of the ring. So they're in a program with Edge and Christian. Regardless of their age, legitimate stars in the wrestling industry. They've just spike pile driven Edge's wife, Beth Phoenix. And now not only is Edge going home, and one of the girl wrestlers is not scared enough of them to not even get in the ring and tell them off to their face. And then Kevin Knight, and without a doubt, the most physically unintimidating, nerdish, goofy-looking male professional wrestler that has ever stepped a bare toe in a fucking ring, jump in the ring and beat him up. What the fuck are they doing? They can't follow anything from one week to the other. They can't expound on anything. They do something and then derail themselves days later. So that's where FTR are now. RR now.
And again, the road to the match with Christian and Edge
was muddy.
They had some kind of interaction. I still don't even know who that guy was. I guess he was a Ring of Honor wrestler. Remember, they had some kind of thing with him in the ring, and then they actually had a promo segment in the back. And then we never saw that guy again. And then they had their feud with the fans.
And then beat up a cameraman.
But I think the fans won that feud. You know, I don't think the fans lost. And then they had the match with Edge and Christian, did the big angle, and the follow-up was to get beat up by Speedball, Kevin Knight, and Willow Nightingale being as afraid of them as the fans were.
I just want to make sure I got that all right. So that's exactly the way it should have happened.
You know, we always said about FTR, they were so talented in the ring, and they are. You can never take that away. But they never really had the angles or the promos or anything that like the classic tag teams did. It's a different era. Wrestling's a different kind of TV show now. But there was not like some big hot angle with FTR doing something. You can close your eyes, and it may not even be a big angle, but you can close your eyes and just picture Arn and Tully, for instance, or the Midnight Express, for instance, just doing things to get heat. You don't have that.
Bockwinkel and Stevens, for instance.
You don't have that with FTR. Like, if you think of them, you think of these matches that are great. You never think, like, they got the fans really going by doing this or this or this. The fans kind of treat them the wrong way. And then they do a hot angle. And Tony Khan can never book the next step after something good that happens.
Well, there's the rivalry that they're most known for was against the Briscoe brothers, and those matches all occurred outside of AEW. And it was a great trilogy, but there were still no great angles to augment it and to add to the fucking memory of the whole rivalry because they didn't have a television program and a promotion that they were working in. AEW couldn't put them on TV then because of whatever those reasons were. So point being, they had 3 great matches with the Briscoes and no great memorable angles or interviews because there was almost nothing on television. I'm sure they probably did some stuff for YouTube.
Well, yeah, they did the face-to-face, I remember, with, I forget the guy's name, the commentator there. They did that. But it was all like under the thing, like we're all friends, we want to wrestle again. Like, it wasn't an angle. It was kind of just like a series of little promos.
But there hasn't even been another series with any other tag team. I mean, the Young Bucks, you can't, seriously take that as a great series because you had FTR working with children that they had to do their shit, and that kind of took the matches down. But there was no heat to it. And the Bucks pushed out of putting them over when the time was right that they could have meant something at the gate. FTR, that is. Bucks never meant anything at the gate. But they could have put FTR over 2 at one point, and they didn't. Because they were jealous that most people who knew what the fuck they were talking about knew that FTR was the better team. So here we are with them getting beat up by everybody. At least they whipped the cameraman.
Willow Nightingale's so likable. I was rooting for her in this. I was hoping she would like double clothesline them. I just run past both of them and close.
I'm surprised she didn't.
She should have.
She could probably do it and they wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
As soon as she came out there, I'm like, oh my God, they're not going to do another angle with a woman. It's both shows now. It's like just constantly guys and women getting into physicality. Why?
Well, this was the woman to come back and get even. Again, they got the heat. Spike Pile-Drive and Beth, and Willow comes out, beats up Stokely. The 2 other little fucking Nimrods come out and beat up FTR. Edge is fine. They got even for him. What the? Can you imagine what Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson would have done if we fucking hospitalized one of their wives on a pay-per-view and fucking mistreated them, and the next week Ricky and Robert weren't in the ring with us, but the New Breed came out and beat the shit out of the Midnight Express? Ricky and Robert would have taken a goddamn assault rifle to fucking Crockett's office.
You thought it was bad enough having the Gates of Agony beat the Hurt Syndicate and then come back the next week and lose right away. And then they do this. It's every segment. The follow-up from the pay-per-view into every segment is awful.
Well, speaking of following up and going home, and where the fuck is this going? MJF was in the back of the building in a pre-tape after the pay-per-view, where he usually does, again, great interviews to just get him on television, just put his face on there. That's all they care about. He was going over all the shitty things that have been done to him since Adam Cole ruined his life. Where did Adam go? I just thought of that. Is he still around?
Well, remember he did that promo announcing that he had to leave and he got very tearful and then the fans got very tearful. It was a really sad thing about how everyone presumed he probably is going to retire because we've all felt uncomfortable watching him wrestle for a while.
Well, I forgot about that.
That was the last time we saw him.
Well, shit. Well, maybe he can come back and announce. There's some openings at that position. But anyway, MJF said he's made mistakes. He's not himself, and he can't come back until basically he gets his shit together again. And that when he comes back, he's not going to be playing MJF. He's going to be dangerous again. This was, I did this interview in 1989, and it aired on TBS when the Midnight Express and I legitimately quit WCW because of the way George Scott had booked us. And we left for a couple months so people could get the bad taste out of their mouth and forget how many jobs we'd done. Is this him acknowledging the shitty booking that he's been victimized by in the same way? Or is this the promos Lawler used to do when people would get tired of him being a babyface because they wanted to see him throw fire and pile drive people and fuck up all the heels like the old, so he'd say, well, the old king's going to be back this week. And that meant he was going to cheat. Or does this just mean that Max is going home again until they make him do something else in the middle of this fucking whirlpool of effluvia?
Well, again, it also came out a couple weeks ago that he was cast in another movie, so maybe there are other things, but, you know, this is coming off the segment where Edge announced he's going home. With MJF, it would be a good thing. If they really are going to bring him back, more serious, not doing the same stuff, not reacting the same way, maybe more of what we saw in Mexico.
Not having to try so hard in his promos to inject life into a dead opponent that nobody cares about.
Yeah, and by the way, everything he does, Christian Cage steals. The whole thing with like him making fun of people's families, everything, then Christian comes and does that. He did the whole I'm your scumbag thing. Or you're my scumbag, the fans would chant. Now Christian's doing you're my asshole.
Well, you got to admit, Christian does look more like a puckered sphincter than a used condom.
We just saw MJF have one of the best, if not the best matches of the year in Mexico, coming off a run where he's been a dynamic heel in Mexico, and at the same time, kind of pussyfooting in AEW. Keep him off TV for a while if you're going to do it. And bring him back big. Have him fucking cash in and fucking win the title from Adam Page.
I don't think you can't cash in anymore unless you give him a week's notice and a fucking insurance bond.
There's got to be a way around it. There's got to be a logical way around it, and they don't use logic.
How can you make an impact here? He made an impact in Mexico by getting juice on the fucking opponent, Mystico, the babyface, and tearing his mask. How could, on this show, the flamethrower doesn't hurt anybody. How can he come back and make an impact? What can you do on this show that is so shocking and disturbing to anybody that they haven't seen that would register that, oh my God, I got to see more of this? What?
Comes back, cashes in, beats Adam Page, wins the belt, surprise. Then, you know what? He doesn't cash in. He somehow gets that match, wins the belt, big surprise, serious MJF, not a 30-minute back and forth. Next week, cashes in, wins the women's title. Merges them as one. Now we don't have to say men's or women's world champion. There is just one world champion again.
The AEW Human World Champion.
The human champion. There we go. Now we got something. Heavyweight human champion.
I don't know if we ought to put heavyweight in because then that might insult the ladies.
I just feel like World Heavyweight Championship is the way to say it. That's the way.
Well, of course, it's the way to say it. And it used to be descriptive of the fucking grown men that were fighting for it. But nevertheless, and MJF's, he's a giant. He's Luger compared to this fucking crowd these days. But nevertheless, let's continue. They had a 6-man tag, but they had to do the comedy bit at the start to introduce it. It's got Don Fallis's collection of Chia and Take a Shit and Oblada. They're going to team up again against Mark Briscoe and his mystery partners that he picked to be Hologram and a returning favorite, because Don was going to have this big ceremony before they start the match where he unveiled his newest painting, because he's got all the cheesy paintings of him and his guys, etc. And they unveil the thing, and basically it's a comedy introduction of our little puppy Pockets has returned to television. It's been I'd forgotten about him. It's been so nice that we haven't had to look at that joke that stopped being funny in 2019. So now we've got Briscoe, Pockets, and Hologram against the 3 members of the top heel stable by the top manager, allegedly. Think about this now, Brian. If Edge is going and MJF's going to be out for a little while, they've lost Ospreay to injury, Swerve to injury. Another few people have departed in recent weeks for a variety of issues, but Pockets is back. It's their own fault. You have to laugh. The crew from year one is almost all back together. Year one, when they had 1 million viewers. The problem is the crew they had in year one is the reason why they have 500,000 viewers now. We're getting more bucks. We're getting more holograms. We're getting more Pockets. We're getting more outlaw Japanese girls. We're getting more nameless, faceless luchadors. And all the stars are either being repaired or going to try to investigate a new line of work. So anyway, did you watch any of this?
I mean, I watched the show, and I watched this. The intro was ridiculous. Not only was it not only the whole painting thing, but the fact that Don Callis now says he makes the paintings. He said that all the paintings we've seen in the past, because this is something that we needed more follow-up on, he's made them. And then they wheel out this thing that it was like a painting, but how many paintings have a space right behind them to fit a human being? Just a big box.
Well, anybody that comes out of a box is over. Tony knows that.
Well, I guess that's why Tony did it, but it looked ridiculous. And again, we're back to where we were. Whether it's the Jurassic Express, whether it's MJF and Edge off the show, the return of Orange Cassidy, we're back to where we were. And
wait a minute. We haven't fucked up Kyle Felcher yet. See, that's very important. We got to do that because we gained some ground on the pay-per-view. We got to lose it here on the free television program. They had the 6-man. The finishing sequence looked like, I swear to God, like Hologram and Chichilla were drunk and trying to square dance, doing something or other. And then Hologram beat old Chichilla. So the masked midget beat the top heel group clean in the middle. And then they played music. And Kyle came out. And he started talking. And he sounds like Christopher Robin when he's talking to Winnie the Pooh. I can't. He's got a manager. Useless manager, but a manager. But he is out there. And he said, I'm a future men's world champion. Men's world champion. Again, that phrasing. I'm not sure with that voice and the pink suit he was wearing whether people may be able to figure out which one he's going for, but it's goddamn ridiculous. And now he who just wrestled for the world title in the main event of the pay-per-view, and even though he didn't win, if you're going by their logic, he went 40 minutes with the champions. So that's supposed to got him over to some degree. He challenged Hologram. I understand you've got the longest undefeated streak in AEW history. If that's true, think about that. Hologram has the longest undefeated streak in AEW history. What the fuck is all of this? So the challenger from over the weekend for the world title, the top guy in the top heel stable, comes out and challenges a job guy, except in name only, since he never does jobs, but a guy that nobody gives a shit about, that we never see, and is half this fucking Kyle's size. Kyle is challenging him to a title versus streak match for Kyle's TNT title. I'll put my championship that means a lot to me, that's a major title in the company, on the line for no reason against you who are meaningless. What the fuck is this logic?
I don't think it is logic. Other than Hologram being a Tony Khan favorite because he created the gimmick, I don't understand any of this. This is the follow-up to him losing to Adam Page in a very long competitive match.
Yes, and now I bet you he's going to beat Hologram in a very long competitive match. And if you want the wrestling fans to take anybody seriously as a main event world title level fucking person, and they don't beat Hologram in 7 minutes, you've just shot yourself in the fucking foot to begin with. And that's only as a TV squash match, not something that is challenged for by the star, that is for the TNT title, if you want the title to be important. The fucking hell. All righty. You know what else I didn't watch, but I saw enough? Claudio Castagnoli versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Brian, do you remember how they started this match out? You might not have counted. I had to go back and keep track. Do you remember?
Yes, they started this match by chasing me out of the room. I didn't watch it.
They rang the bell, and they proceeded to exchange 48 punches and forearms to each other. Most of them looked weak. Some of them didn't connect at all. But neither guy took a bump or even went to a knee. Now, I'm not saying it was 48 like one at a time. Sometimes one of the guys would throw 3 or 4 in a row, and then the other guy would but 48 fucking punches and forearms, flat-footed in the middle of the ring, no bump, didn't go to a knee. And then the clothesline worked. So, after 10 minutes, guess who came out? He's back. Pac's back. Distracted Hobbs, and Claudio rolled him up 1, 2, 3. And then Samoa Joe chased Pac off. But Yuta and Garcia and Pac, who came back, and Claudio beat up Joe and Hobbs. And then Page came out and cleared the ring, and the heels left.
And they said Shibata had been hurt, I believe, at some point here, which, who knows? It could be a brain injury.
Well, we're sincerely hoping that they get his brain back to him good as new anytime now. So the heels win, then the babyface may come back, then the heels get heat, then the babyface may come back in the same fucking segment. Then it was time for Tony Khan's big announcement. It's been a while. He hasn't had the big announcement in quite some time, since he started doing it so often that the people basically started shitting all over it, because as a big announcement, I had Cheerios for breakfast. But he made this one, and he never blinked once. He's back to reading the teleprompter, so he can't go off the reservation and just get mired down in shit like he did when he tried to do it off top of his head. But he won't blink. It's like, it's that fucking goofsnack, Kash Patel. Have you seen the picture of the FBI director in this shit show over here? Kash Patel looking like he's got that glandular disease. It makes your eyeballs pop out of your head.
You know, until you see someone not blink for a while, you never realize how much
people blink.
Yeah, but like, I got fixated on him. Like, all right, he has to blink at some point now. He's just not blinking. He's still going.
Because you don't really notice people blinking when they're blinking, because everybody blinks.
It's a natural thing. Just like the gardener behind me. Motherfucker. They were supposed to be here yesterday. But anyway.
Well, they blinked. But when you don't blink, it's obvious.
It was also the return of, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. I'm a real boy.
That's a real lawnmower back there.
Can you hear that?
Anyway,
there's
I can hear
selling that today.
So the announcement, the major announcement, the big reveal, they're instituting girls tag team titles. And then they went to ringside and unveiled the new belts that look like all the other belts they have. This is a big deal to Tony. New belts. Look at how cool the new belts are. They've got 3 girls individual champions. Why do they? And now the girls tag team titles on top of the AEW men's world title and the unified title and the TNT title and the fucking, what's the other goddamn title?
Man, just today, the wrestling news, I was looking at the report when the show went up, and I read this line and I laughed because I didn't realize it. And again, I apologize for the noise. But what was on Ring of Honor last night? Mina Shirakawa successfully defended the ROH Interim Women's World Television Championship.
Oh. ROH Interim Women's TV Championship.
Yeah, that's too many belts.
Well, anyway, speaking of the women and their belts, for the women's world title, and I swear to again, they have taken their title for whatever good it does off of Toni Storm, the female star, singular, not plural, that they have on the roster. And I'm not slandering Chris Statlander. I wish they'd have done something with her 5 years ago. But now she won it in a 4-way, and now she defends against Mina Mellons, who's come back for no apparent reason. And that's the main event of the show. Now, I knew that they were going to do something goofy at the end because they always do when they have almost nobody watching. So I said, I'll just stop the DVR here when this match starts, and I'll go to where I taped the overrun because they're going to have the girls go 2 minutes over and then do something stupid. And they did. The girls went another couple minutes. And then here came Dick the Boozer and the Boar Horseman. And by the way, Dick is not burned or even blistered after Darby put him in the body bag at the pay-per-view and set him on fire. Those body bags must be really, I thought they outlawed asbestos. What are they making those things out of? So they all come to the ring, and old Wheeler Useless hugs Statlander and raises her hand, and then she clotheslined him. And Marina Schaefer ran at Statlander. Statlander ducked and rolled out of the ring, or flipped off Moxley and rolled out of the ring and left and went through the people. So there is Moxley and Schaefer and the rest of his stooges standing there in an empty ring. And then Darby Allin comes out with a flamethrower. And he's advancing with the flamethrower on the heels. He's not shooting it close enough to actually get him, but he's not rushing, and they're not really running. They're just backing up. As a matter of fact, Moxley is backpedaling away at a slow pace, but tripped and fell down over the ring stairs. trying to walk backwards. And then the heels just left, and Darby got up on the turnbuckle and fired off his flamethrower a little bit and challenged Moxley for an I Quit match at the next pay-per-view. Because, the coffin match is just to set things up, Brian. That's not really any kind of feud decider or anything. This is the biggest goddamn clown show I've ever seen, where a bunch of immature, unprofessional nitwits just get to go out and do things they think are cool in their play acting. Like MJF is the only one that I can see that is thinking about this as a business and how to get over, rather than a fucking play where they get to wear cool costumes. Am I being too harsh over the flamethrower?
I think Darby may have used something like that before. We've seen fire used in all sorts of different ways. Remember Eddie Kingston?
He said he was the one that set Jack Perry on fire, wasn't he?
I thought that was CM Punk. I don't know. I don't know who set him on fire. But
no, he just choked his britches full.
That was AEW Dynamite, a great follow-up to the pay-per-view. Get well soon, Wardlow. What else do we have to say to anyone else listening? MJF, enjoy your time off. Cope, I hope it's something good and worthwhile. And,
Swerve, Osprey.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Kenny.
Kenny.
Kenny's hanging by a thread. He needs more nursemaids at his place of residence to bring him back to life.
Before the end of the year, you and I should bet each other on how many matches he'll have in 2026.
Do you want me to do wishful thinking or what I really believe?
Well, actually, it may be the year that they coincide, that they conflict, that they hit each other. Whatever the word is I'm looking for.
Wishful thinking would be 0. Prediction will be 3. How's that?
3 matches altogether. Well, we'll see what happens. But that was AEW Dynamite.
It certainly was. And before we talk about anybody, whether they watched this thing or not, just briefly and over the lawnmowers, Brian, tell us what the hell's going on in the Arcadian Vanguard world.
Oh, you know what that means, Jim? We've zapped the Gardeners, and they have disappeared to the ether. Gone for hopefully another week. Maybe they'll come back on the day they're supposed to next time. But Jim, another fine week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.
Yes.
Get information about all the shows on Twitter at Superpodcast or on Facebook, facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. Of course, each and every day, get the wrestling news for free. Your morning wrestling newscast from the Wrestling News, directly from thewrestlingnews.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. No clickbait, no paywall, just the wrestling news.
No flamethrowers.
No flamethrowers, well, except in the report, I guess. But want to make mention of Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon, the finest in classic wrestling conversations. Listen to it today and go through the archive. Hearing from a lot of listeners who are really starting to listen to the archive. SUAWpod.com, or look for Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon, wherever you find your favorite podcast. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, the Mothership! Go through the archive, 605pod.com, wherever you find your favorite podcast, the Mothership.
Did you disturb Swami with that, by the way?
Now, he's used to it. He's gotten quite used to weird sounds coming from in here.
Used to daddy screaming. All righty then.
Well, Jim, before we get to the ratings, which I know you kind of set up there, and we're going to do the star ratings because people are going to ask for it. That'll be on the drive-thru this coming week.
Yeah.
But, Jim, there was something I have emailed to you because it just popped up on my feed. Someone posted it to the Cult of Cornette Facebook group.
It may have popped up on your feed, but it's put me off of my feed.
I don't know exactly what to say about this. It's one of those things you first see it, you're like, this can't be real. And then you're like, well, it looks like this could be real. There apparently was a goodie bag of sorts for the people that attended the surprise, hidden, please don't tell anyone, hey, sign this NDA birthday party for Vince McMahon that he threw for himself at the hotel in New York City, the Baccarat Hotel.
The Baccarat Hotel. He's been known to back a rat or two, but go ahead.
Well, there is a gift that apparently 100 people, only 100 people, his most loyal people received this. It is a bust of Vince McMahon's head.
Well, it wouldn't be a bust of his ass, would it? Then that would just be Vince McMahon's ass. The bust is always of the head. That's, the idea of the bust. But they legitimately it's on a black pedestal with a gold nameplate that says Vince McMahon, and it is a sculptured bust of his head, and it's in the picture. It's next to the Hotel Baccarat, I guess, guest book or whatever. And there's another bust sitting next to it, which it's not Julius Caesar, but is that like Michelangelo's David or some shit? The classic.
Yeah, I think so.
Roman bust. And then Vince's head is half again as big. They must have had smaller heads back in those yonder olden days.
Or maybe more apropos, maybe it's Julius Caesar.
Well, I don't think it's Caesar because he doesn't have a fucking leaf around his head.
Oh, that's true.
See, he'd have the leaf, but they've leafed it out. But now the guy that put this up on Facebook has some kind of goddamn scam going on where he claims to be booking a bunch of pro wrestlers, and he's got a list a mile long.
Well, we don't know if it's a scam. We shouldn't say that. I'm sure.
Well,
I'm sure he's booking pro wrestlers as he says he is here.
He's naming people at his fucking website. I'm not even sure that some of these people are still alive. Debbie Malenko?
She's indeed
Bless
alive.
her. We haven't heard from her 30 years.
Debbie Malenko is alive and well and apparently taking bookings, ladies and gentlemen. But this page seems to be legitimate.
Well, the point is this loose-lipped Larry here, listen to what he says. He says the white bust. It's Vince McMahon. Only 100 exist. They were created exclusively for the handpicked guests who checked into New York's ultra-luxury Baccarat Hotel to celebrate Vince's 80th birthday. This wasn't some casual birthday dinner. It was a lockdown event. NDAs everywhere, phones off, cameras banned. If you were in that room, you signed and stayed silent. If you weren't, you never saw a thing. But here's where it gets fun. It sounds like Russo. Russo invaded the goddamn birthday party. But here's where it gets fun. I'm connected with people who didn't sign those NDAs. And because of that, you're looking at something the wrestling world has never seen posted anywhere before. This bust is the first peek outside those closed doors, and it's just the start. What a goddamn stooge. The guest list, exactly as stacked as you'd imagine. Undertaker, Cena, Kane, McIntyre, Miz and Maurice, JBL, Jerry Lawler, R-Truth, Sergeant Slaughter, Bruce Pritchard. A room full of wrestling royalty and one court jester toasting the man who built the empire in total secrecy. This, except for your fucking droning on about it, this bust isn't merch. It's a you were trusted enough to be here gift from Vince himself. Something only 100 of his most loyal inner circle walked away with, meant never to leave that world. And trust me, this is just the opening bell. More photos, stories, and behind-the-scenes pieces from that night, a night the rest of the world was told would stay buried, are coming. What the fuck? This guy, he's sitting there with his dick in his hand.
Were there strippers?
Throbbing with the idea of exposing an 80-year-old man's fucking birthday party to the world. Like, what? I guarantee you none of this shit's going to be as exciting as what was in the lawsuit.
Well, let's get to the idea of...
Not with Bruce there.
Having your 80th birthday party and saying, you know what, I got an idea for a special gift. Me!
A bust of me. And
not even a death mask, a bust. He's alive.
One of the, yeah, the death mask would have been hard to do without involving the authorities, but one of the guys making comments says, nothing says I've got nothing to hide like NDAs for a birthday party.
What do you think that's
and
about?
What are you going to do with this thing? You're going to take it home, and is going to end up as everybody's attic or basement or garage or behind a door somewhere, isn't it? How could you get this thing on the plane?
How much is this going to get on eBay?
That's why everybody took it home.
Yeah. Are they numbered? Is there any way to trace who got what? Is there a microphone in it? Who knows?
It could be a tracking device, but the thing is, if there's 100 of them and we know that already, then the value has gone down. Because if there was only a few people, but now everybody knows they got 100 shots at it because nobody's actually going to. Bruce will keep this without trying to sell it.
Bruce will kiss this. Got the fucking plaster cast of Vince's cock along with this.
But Bruce is going to put this in his front door in his house next to the bust of the angel, the French angel. And then that way Vince will feel good that he doesn't have the biggest head in the world.
Man, poor Paul Bosch. The last thing he ever would have wanted was Bruce Pritchard ended up with everything in that office, but that's a whole nother story.
He didn't get everything.
No, you know what I mean, though. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a hell of a move to present people with this. I'm waiting for Janelle Grant's attorney to chime in because she must see this and go, what the fuck? The NDAs for a birthday party.
At least she wasn't there because then they'd be able to cross-claim that Vince gave her head.
The NDAs for a birthday party.
Is it too soon?
Well, no, that was a good line. But it's too soon also. So
way too soon. Let's wait a few more years.
Jeez. Not even young Vince, too. Just old man, fucked up face Vince, like weird eyebrow.
And there's no mustache.
Yeah, Botox forehead Vince.
You can't tell whether the blonde or the white streak is in his hair or not because it's all white.
Someone should paint it and make it cross-eyed. That'd be funny.
I guarantee you JBL's going to paint a black mustache on it.
He's another one who may kiss it. He's another one who may have gotten a plaster cast of the cock.
He would not be doing any type of intimate relations.
Vince, I love you. Sit on my lap. Vince, can I sit on your lap? Oh, Vince. Oh, give me a break.
Come on now. You're going too far there. Would you stop?
All right. Well,
well, I guess that's been a bust.
You see, it was all worth it for that one line there at the end. But Jim.
Take it off.
I was thinking today's the day.
That's like you said, take it off.
Nope, that's not happening today, folks. We tried. Well, Jim, with that,
yes,
let's go to the glorious ratings that are the AEW Dynamite ratings. I don't know why I call them glorious, but let's go to those.
It was only 2 hours this week.
It was only 2 hours. Thank heavens. But here they are, Jim. AEW Dynamite, Wednesday, September 24th, 2025, 8 to 10:08 p.m. on TBS. On average, watched by 638,000 viewers.
So, what was last week?
667.
Okay, I keep thinking that it's the same thing every week, but it's basically the same thing every week, except for 3 weeks ago when they completely fell in a hole. But they're preaching to the choir here. They got another 600,000 people. Joy to the world for them.
This is down 4% from last week, which was 667, up 11% off the 4-week average of 577. But Jim, let's go to the quarter-hour breakdowns. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m., the Adam Page Backstage Promo Challenge, and the start of Brodito versus GOA with picture-in-picture, 695,000 viewers.
So that is neither a large opening number or as small as some of them have been lately, but by the average, that means they won't lose quite as much through the course of the program.
We go to quarter 2, Brodito versus GOA continued. Oh, by the way, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The Conglomeration Paragon Backstage Promo, an ad break, and the Chris Statlander Harley Cameron Backstage Promo, 617,000 viewers.
Ouch. They still managed to drop 78,000. But again, is it surprising given the people came, checked out what they were seeing, and said, eh.
Well, we go to quarter three, more 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. Adam Page versus Lee Moriarty. Picture in picture. The Cope Christian Cage backstage angle. And an ad break. 616,000 viewers. Low point in the key demo, 160,000.
Well, at least they kept what they had in quarter two. They only lost 1,000 people. That's negligible. So they've stabilized themselves.
Well, Jim, we go to quarter four, 8:45 to 9 p.m. The FTR Stokely Hathaway Willow Nightingale Jet Speed live angle. And the MJF backstage promo. 638,000 viewers.
Boy, that's a gift. An extra 22,000 people for that. That's their show average. So they've stayed in the sixes all through the first hour. Will they pick up a few at the top of the 9 o'clock hour?
Well, we'll find out right now. The big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m., quarter five. The Don Callis live promo.
Ooh.
The Don Callis family versus the conglomeration featuring the return of Orange Cassidy with picture in picture.
Oh, good God.
654,000 viewers.
Well, they managed to get 16,000. Again, maybe they should have done this all along. We used to make fun of them for losing 200, 300,000 people during the course of the show. Maybe they should have just started all those shows with 200,000 or 300,000 less, and then they'd have kept their audience.
Well, we'll see what they keep here. We go to quarter six, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. Continuation of Callis family versus conglomeration. The post-match with Kyle Fletcher. Mina Shirakawa's backstage promo. An ad break. The Jurassic Express video. And the start of Claudio Castagnoli versus Powerhouse Hobbs.
This ain't looking good.
648,000 viewers.
Well, they only lost 6,000. That's a gift, but now I have a feeling the things ain't going to be so bright from here on out because they've got to go down from here to, again, achieve their average. And Mina Mellons is in the main event, so there you go.
And she's fine. We go to quarter seven, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The continuation of Claudio versus Hobbs, the post-match with the Death Riders and Samoa Joe, and Adam Page, and an ad break. 618,000 viewers.
Yeah, there we go. We're back down to, well, it's not the low point. They did 617 and 616 earlier.
Well, we get to the end here. We go to quarter eight, 9:45 to 10 p.m. A reminder, an 8-minute overrun. Tony Khan's big announcement, Renee Paquette's live promo, and the start of Chris Statlander versus Mina Shirakawa with picture in picture. 606,000 viewers.
They stayed over 600,000 for that.
8-minute overrun.
Bravo!
8-minute overrun continuation of Mina versus Statlander, and the post-match with the Death Riders, Harley Cameron, and Darby Allin and a flamethrower. 654,000 viewers.
Okay, so something happened there at the end. They put, what's the show that follows it?
Impractical Jokers?
No, they put some other show on this week I can't remember what it was, but because usually they've been dropping on the overrun with Impractical Jokers. Well, they got a gift there at the end, but I'm astonished. I must say, bravo AEW that you could keep that consistent of a number for that mess of a show without losing the majority as they usually do. That's very heartening for them. But the problem is they're still keeping less people because they're starting with less people.
Yeah, and you brought it up before. We used to talk about them just a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. It would start around 8, end up in the 6s. And there would be that big drop, like 200,000 people, 150,000 people. seems like they're all gone now. And it's just there's a steady base in the range of 620, maybe, that are there to check out what's there, unless there's something else cooler on TV, like a Little League World Series or something. But the idea that it's kind of landed here and we're supposed to believe that all these people are watching on Max, TV executives I know don't believe it. I don't believe it either.
Besides that, these drops came before the Max deal even happened. They weren't at 1 million anymore. They weren't at 900 anymore. They weren't at 800 anymore. I don't know that they were at 7 consistently. So then the idea that suddenly 300,000 people would say, oh shit, they're on TBS. We haven't given a shit, but now they're on Max. We got to watch. No. But again, they have solidified their base, but the people that were on the fence that may have given the show a chance for the first 15 or 30 minutes years ago, and that lasted for quite a while, they've just said, fuck it. So there's where we're at. Are you ready to say fuck it yet?
I'm ready to say we will see everyone for a really fun time on the drive-thru. Maybe Antonio Inoki's keychain will finally play that song on the air. You never know.
But until then, folks, there once was a man from Nantucket who said at the end of the show, fuck it. And that's why he said thank you. And that's why he said fuck you. And that's why he said bye-bye, everybody.